Morning, Artie. Kanata and Pat tomorrow, by the way.
All right.
Working on a third. Felipe, you did City of Palms last night, right?
I did. Ramir won MVP.
The FGCU recruit.
Yes, sir. You ask me, it's pretty big that FGCU can say that they got the MVP.
I agree. I mean, apparently that was a very good, exciting game at FGCU last night.
So they didn't cover?
No, they hit a 3 with 10 seconds to go to win by 3.
Did Denise fire you for working City of Palms and not her game?
I told her months ago, I'm like, yeah, I'm working City of Palms. Sorry.
I understand that. Did she fire you?
No. I just told her, like, hey, not working these days. Sorry. Oh, by the way.
I'm sure you said it just like that.
I did. I said, yeah, I got City of Palms. Sorry.
I will say they're so desperate for personnel right now.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. What are we, 3 days away from the big fella? How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this Thursday edition, another jam-packed show. But Elliott will join us to go through as much as we can cover of the college football landscape yesterday. But first, how are you, Mark?
I'm doing great. We need Bud to cover that Alabama and Georgia 1 and 2. What else do you need to know?
Well, there are other teams, in state. There's Miami, there's Florida State. They keep score about this stuff, Mark.
Well, they do. And those who pay the most do the best.
It's amazing how that works out. Not every sport you can say that. College football, for years, you've almost always been able to say that. Occasionally you have like a Texas A&M pay the most one year, go 5-7 the next. But usually, cash works. They don't take just credit on the whole college football, high school football landscape there. You and I want cash to make a big comeback. You know where cash is good, Mark? College football.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And their contracts, actually, if you think about it, these recruits are doing better than the NFL players in one regard. Their guaranteed contracts don't matter how well they play at all. These are a little better. These college contracts seem to be okay here.
That is true. And the good thing is, if you perform very badly at the one place, if you're a certain prospect, you can get guaranteed money to go somewhere else 2-3 times even.
Free agency's alive and well in college football.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thursday night football tonight. And who'd have thunk it? Even Al Michaels joked in an interview earlier this week in which he said, when the schedule came out and we saw late in the season Jacksonville at the Jets, we were thinking, man, the NFL's really sticking it to us, aren't they? Now he's like, it's one of the games I've looked forward to the most all year.
And now with the news out of Nashville that Tannehill's done for the year, puts even a greater hope for the Jags to try to win a division, which they still control their own destiny. But who knows, now it maybe affords them a slip up.
I think it does. Let's do the math. First off, there's no guarantee Tennessee even gets by Houston this week. They barely did with Malik Willis earlier in the season. But let's give them the win over the Texans. I mean, after all, they do have just one win and one tie. They're got Dallas and at Jacksonville in the remaining 2 games. Do we think they're going to win either one of those games with Malik Willis?
I don't.
So that would give the Titans an 8-9 record. That means Jacksonville needs to win 2 of their last 3, as long as one of the 2 is when they play Tennessee. So, Mark, it is possible the Jags can lose tonight in Jersey and go WW, which, by the way, at Houston, home for Tennessee, and win the division at 8-9.
But if they win tonight, they even put that much more pressure on the Tennessee Titans to have to win their remaining games as well. And a big one tonight for Lawrence and the Jags as they go to New York to take on the Jets, or go to Jersey to take on the Jets.
And not only that, you get to see the difference on the same field at the same time in the same conditions with just as much at stake really for both teams. You could argue even more at stake for the Jets. The Jets may have less wiggle room than Jacksonville right now, but the number 1 and 2 picks of the same draft. And you see what one of them's looking like, and you see what the other one looks like. Sorry, Jets fans.
One ceiling in football higher, one ceiling in dating life perhaps higher.
Oh, I don't think there's any perhaps about it. And Trevor's already happily
Trevor's
married.
already married. Yeah, well,
Right.
I mean, for now.
Right. And, and his young lady, very attractive. So, you figure Trevor's got game. But Zach Wilson game? Come on now. I mean, in 2023, Mark, Zach Wilson, Tom Brady, both going to be out on the streets, so to speak.
And it's fitting that this is an Amazon Prime game, because where are all the moms shopping on Amazon Prime, David?
Really?
Well played. Well played. So there you have it. Little Thursday night football tonight, and who'd have thunk it? Jacksonville and the Jets, a big game for both teams. It's been that kind of a year, ladies and gentlemen. That kind of a year. Jets a 2-point favorite, over under 37. So, Mark, basically 2017, give or take a point. That's what Vegas is saying. They're saying the Jets. We shall see. They said the same thing last week when the Jets played the Lions, and guess how it worked out? 2017 the other way.
Well, that to me is the game for Jacksonville. Can they win the low-scoring game where defense, and that's the style that's going to be with the weather tonight, but they haven't proven this year that they can win those type of games. They've been able to outscore teams. They've been not really able to win that muck-it-up close game, and that's what I'm fascinated to see tonight for Jacksonville, how they play in those conditions with that type of pressure and where their defense might have to get them a stop to win the game.
Well, the Lions hadn't been able to win a game that way either until last week. Against who? The Jets in Jersey. So maybe it's a Jets Jersey thing that Jacksonville can do the same thing. But you're right. The weather not going to be good tonight. And I would think that favors the Jets.
How can it not?
Because Jacksonville, I think, has got more skill. And so I would think that would favor also the better defensive team, which the Jets clearly are.
And we'll see how Lawrence fares with a good defense. Because you're right, the Jets play a good defense, and they're going to bring a lot of blitzes at him. They're going to bring a lot of different packages. So we'll see how Trevor Lawrence handles that tonight against the Jets.
Did you find yourself last night at all just kind of surfing through the recruiting services and seeing how they ranked certain teams? Mark, winners and losers from yesterday. That was my favorite story. They all did it. winners and losers.
After the season that Texas A&M had last year, it hurt me to look at recruiting rankings like that. I paid attention to how the rankings were going. Miami had a great day, as expected, but I don't, how do I say this the right way? I put a ton of stock into the recruiting rankings, but nothing that happened yesterday will have a great impact on next season. You have to see, one, what they do with these recruits. You already see how many A&M guys transferred from last year.
Quite a few.
So it's tough to put a lot of stock in. You know, that's why I joke when I say Alabama and Georgia. They keep the guys, and if they don't, they transfer guys in. So until you have a 3-4 year run of this, Miami, you have to just tread lightly on recruiting rankings, in my opinion, David.
My favorite was there was a recruiting ranking yesterday that listed Miami under the loser category and then proceeded to have them ranked 4th. Like, man, I'd love to lose like that. When the day started, we were supposed to finish 3rd, and we finished 4th. You're a loser. Okay. All right. You do know we're putting this class together and we weren't even bowl eligible. Not only do I consider ourselves winners, I consider this a miracle. Ask Mike Norvell what it's been like to recruit for the last few years, coming off of 5-win seasons. It ain't easy. One other side note. Gator fans, they're pretty happy with, supposedly how things went. Got a bunch of 4-stars, got right around a top 10 class, depending on, which service you look at, just inside the top 10, just out. But Mark, when we did poll questions, if we asked you what year do you think in the recruiting services Florida is going to outrank Georgia, what year do you think that will be?
2042.
And that's kind of the point where, don't get me wrong, solid job for Napier. I mean, I don't count last year. He got the job like 8 days before early signing day. He didn't even have a staff. I mean, however last year works out, it works out. That's just throwing paint on a board and seeing how much of it dries. But that's the problem, Mark. I mean, in theory, not only do you have to catch up, you got to pass them. Well, hell, they're top 3 class every damn year. Obviously, I mean, Alabama's had a top 3 class seemingly every year also, and they don't win every game. I'm just saying, it's hard.
No, but you've got to be consistent, and I don't know what the difference between 4th and 10th on these services are. To me, it's how many 5-stars. That's really the difference between the top 10. How many 5-stars you get.
Agreed.
And you can coach up a 4-star. That's part of the science of this. But at a minimum, they've got to have a full 4-year run of top 10 classes where they can even raise their hand and say we're in the area code. One class does not do that.
Right. Like if you guys over 4 years, your consensus is you're number 2 and we're number 8. Well, okay, we're right there. We're right there. We can play with you guys. Let's go. So in that sense, I guess yesterday was pretty good. Okay, good start. Good start. It's still going to be a while. But, after back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons, I think Napier did okay. I think Mario did okay. It's funny, Florida State barely cracked the top 20, and yet on all the winners lists, Mark, for yesterday, Florida State, winner. It's funny perception.
It also shows where they are with NIL in their money. So when they're finishing a top 20 class, that's considered a win. Miami finishes 4th, it's considered a loss.
Right. Mario, what the heck? 4th best recruiting class coming off a 5 and 7 season. It's a disgrace.
We'll break it all down next hour with Bud Elliott, Roy Cummings to talk the Bucs, and Dr. Roto to answer your fantasy football questions. All ahead on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I fixed it
Why were we not on air?
because this computer is the one that we use to connect to Westwood One, and it turned off and it wouldn't turn on. So I literally had to hard reset it, and I had to get the password from the engineer Tig. Got the password, logged in. So we installed a mouse jiggler so it wouldn't log out.
Were we just not on the air?
We were on locally. We were on in Tampa. We were not on in Lake City, and we were not on in Port Charlotte for the first segment because of Westwood One problems, apparently, or our problems. I still don't know.
It's the computer. It was the computer. The computer would not work. Like, it would not turn on.
So for the whole half hour you were here, it wouldn't turn on.
It was updating, rebooting, because it's ancient.
So are you saying at 6:01 you knew we weren't on the air in Lake City and Port Charlotte?
I was talking, yeah.
But you're saying there was nothing we could do about it.
Right, because that's why there was no point, no use. Just because the computer was rebooting essentially.
When did you turn the computer on?
5:40, and it took a little bit more than half an hour to reboot. Yes, Paul, flux capacitor issues.
Norvell, by the way, is the answer. I know it's not close.
30 seconds.
I think the roster, Paul, is a pretty obvious explanation.
Brown chicken, I thought of that already. I really hope that's not the case. Also, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Apologies to Lake City and Port Charlotte. For whatever reason, there were technical difficulties in the first segment. We believe we have them worked out. And so welcome, as we are just 3 days away from Christmas. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark, I'm sorry to steal a little bit of your thunder tomorrow. But for those in Southwest Florida, you know how we end the show. We combine a few segments, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's on tap. Today was the day when, which is kind of like this day in history, sports, music, politics, what have you. For those along the network, you don't get to hear that unless you download it. Well, tomorrow, Mark will likely have a footnote that tomorrow is the 40th anniversary of Chaminade beating Virginia with Ralph Sampson, an NAIA school in Hawaii, in which there was literally only one reporter at the game, Michael Wilbon. Virginia was the number one team in the country. There was no point spread on the game. Chaminade beat them. Virginia had beaten Georgetown with Patrick Ewing and Houston with Akeem Olajuwon leading up to playing the NAIA school, and they got beat. Chris Berman said live on the air, okay, all I can tell you is the number one team in the country lost, and I don't even know who they lost to. Who are those guys? So, Mark, that's tomorrow. I apologize for stealing your thunder a day in advance, but the reason I had to mention that is that many people in college basketball believe that the biggest upset since Chaminade over Virginia took place yesterday. Eastern Illinois was a 31.5-point underdog at Iowa. And Iowa opened the game on an 18-4 run. and Eastern Illinois down 8 at the half, a 31.5-point dog, came back to beat Fran McCaffrey's crew 92-83. They say at least 30 years. Right now, they can't find a game beginning in the early 90s to now that was a bigger point spread of an upset. They're tracking as best they can the 80s. So it's not Chaminade against Virginia, obviously, because of Ralph Sampson and Virginia. Okay. And, Virginia was the number 1 team in the country, but 31.5-point dog winning outright. I mean, Mark, in most betting places, they did not have a line on the game.
Eastern Illinois, huh?
Yes. I believe that's Romo's alma mater. I believe. Don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
But I'm hedging my bet. My $20,
Sure.
I think that's Romo's alma mater.
That's fine. Romo, whatever.
Right.
What's their nickname?
Come on. Come on now. That's unfair. I'll tell you what. I'm going to be a really blankety blank. I'm going to guess. I'm just going to say Eagles.
It's a good guess. It's a
Gotta
really
play the percentages.
Because it's a plain name. It's the Panthers. You were in the right ballpark. I mean, that was a very generic animal name that's a lot of different schools' mascots. That's very good.
Thank you. 31.5, baby.
And they scored 92.
Correct. And remember, Iowa opened the game 18-4. They moved the game up nearly 5 hours because the storm was coming in. And they said to Eastern Illinois, listen, we got to get you out of here. So I don't know when they tipped that game. I mean, it was probably a lunchtime game.
Which there's going to be a lot of the next couple of days around sports as they try to get games in. I think the Flyers and Leafs are playing early today. I know they already canceled a Buffalo-Tampa game.
Which the Lightning, after the last 2 games, are probably just fine. They're like Costner and Bull Durham. You know what we need? Need a rain out.
Yeah. They got whooped by the Leafs, and then they lose to the Red Wings? Yeah, they needed a rain out, David.
They did. They need to go on a little bender. That's what they need. They need a night out on the town. That's what they don't need to play the Sabres. They need a night. So I just thought, it's worth mentioning there. 31.5-point dog. You're saying they're the Panthers?
The Eastern Illinois Panthers.
Okay. 92-83 over Iowa. All right. Betting services are saying since at least 91 as best they can track, but they think that they're willing to, pardon the pun, bet that this is the biggest upset by point spread since Chaminade, Virginia, of which there was not a line.
Iowa fans are mixed because it gives them another opportunity to bash Fran McCaffrey, which is one of their favorite things to do in Iowa City.
I can just only imagine how mad McCaffrey must have been at times yesterday because he gets bent out of shape when they're beating like Indiana by 8. I can only imagine what he was like in a half-empty gym at 3 p.m. But as Fran Fraschilla tweeted out yesterday, as a college basketball coach, there are times where the players go on Christmas break before the coaches. He goes, and you never know when that's going to be. But he goes, I think that just happened to Fran McCaffrey in Iowa, that the guys went on break.
By the way, Eastern Illinois, you would think in a game like that with 92 that they lit it up from three-point land. They were just 6 of 15 from beyond the arc.
Wow. Well, France teams have never been known to play defense.
And they didn't because Eastern Illinois shot 60% from the floor and Iowa shot 39%. That's how those things happen.
There you go. So 31.5-point dog. Most places you couldn't even get a bet on the game. I can only imagine what the money line paid. My goodness. And here's the thing. And did anybody bet it? I mean, even $5. Was there $5 put on Eastern Illinois on the money line for that game? For those that don't know, money line is you're just picking winners and losers. That's all.
And in a game like that, you were getting pretty good odds to pick a winner.
Yes, you were. I'll bet $5 probably got you. I don't know, 300. Man. So there you go. I just thought it was worthy of mentioning. And it's almost 40 years to the day of Chaminade, Virginia, which the more you look back at that game, it's actually more remarkable. They did become, at some point during the season, Chaminade, the number one NAIA team in the country. I think at the time they beat them, they were ranked 4th. And they went to the Final Four that year in NAIA. Virginia, of course, went to the Elite Eight in Division I with Ralph Sampson.
And that was a moment in which college basketball was huge. Sampson's on the cover of SI that year. I mean, it was.
Can I say it again? They had just got done beating Georgetown with Ewing and Houston with Olajuwon. And Chaminade 2 days earlier had lost to Wayside Baptist.
Wayside was tough that year. They had a great perimeter game.
They really did, Yep.
Despite no three-pointers being allowed at that point in college basketball.
They were like NC State, Mark. They were hitting threes even though they were only twos.
Right.
So I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Miller and Moulton talking Eastern Illinois and Iowa because Eastern Illinois won as a 31.5-point dog. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. The starting five coming up on the other side. Roy Cummings on the show today, Bud Elliott on the show, and Dr. Roto to answer fantasy football questions. All still ahead on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark, I have a question for you. Do you have any recollection of watching basketball games when you were younger that did not feature a three-point line?
Yeah.
Who were the best perimeter shooters from that
I
era?
don't know.
No,
Felipe, this is 45,
I know.
40 years ago.
It's just so weird.
And you have to remember, there wasn't cable TV.
Right.
So I watched what games were on CBS. I watched the Lakers and I watched the Celtics because that's what was on.
But even in the 70s? Well, yeah, because hell, they
Well,
were
in the
still
70s,
good.
yeah, in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah,
You still got the
Gail
Celtics
Goodrich,
a lot.
You still got.
And in the early 70s, I'm born in 69, so my first recollections are going to be late 70s.
Do you remember watching Wilt?
No.
No, yeah, you were too young. You remember what? Dave Cowens.
Dave Cowens, I remember. I remember the first basketball recollection that I really remember is the Phoenix Suns Boston Celtics final.
Yeah, that one.
And
game.
I actually watched that game in tape delay, the overtime game. I was a very little kid, but I remember watching that live.
That was a crazy game. That's one of the best games in NBA history.
Game 5 of the whatever final.
70-something finals.
77. Boston and Phoenix.
76, yep.
76.
David, I asked if you have any recollection of basketball without a three-point line and watching it on TV, who were the best perimeter shooters?
Oh, wow. World Be Free, probably post pre-3-point line. Downtown Freddie Brown, remember him?
Yeah.
Seattle, late 70s.
Freddie Brown.
By the way, Sean Payton went to Eastern Illinois.
Really?
And so did John Malkovich. Burl Ives, an Eastern Illinois grad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that Maravich holds a college scoring record by like 1,000 points. And A, he only played 3 years, and B, he didn't have the 3-point line.
Yeah, his numbers are stupid in college.
They are.
Stupid.
It was in Maui, but it was Christmas, DC. Because Chaminade hosted that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The call on the clutch play is pretty good.
What basketball game's it from?
Bulls.
I already heard it.
It was good.
Radio or television?
Radio.
I was going to say, because if it was TV, it'd be Adam Amin.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott 1 hour from now. Roy Cummings to start our 8 o'clock hour. Dr. Roto 2 hours from now. Those of you still alive in your fantasy football playoffs, wait till the 8 o'clock hour and then begin firing away the questions you want answered for Dr. Roto as he makes his weekly house call. Right now, well, it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Thursday night football tonight, Jersey, Jets, Jags. Need we say more? Jets a 2-point favorite, over-unders 37.
Throw the records out when these two teams play, David.
Well, in the past, you always had to just to hide the women and children from how bad they were. I mean, you don't want to see people seeing numbers like that, 3-12, 4-11. But now, 6-8, 7-7, baby. We're moving on up.
They're contenders.
To the east side. Obviously, a big game for both. Jags got a huge break yesterday, which is a fascinating story. Ryan Tannehill, all of a sudden, late yesterday, likely out for the rest of the year. The reason why that seems, well, I don't know, surprising, sudden. Tannehill got hurt in the first quarter last week against the Chargers. Missed one series. Came back in the game. Finished the game. In fact, led them on a game-tying drive in which I believe he scored the tying touchdown with like a minute to go. He then practiced this week twice. But they decided, man, your ankle's messed up. You probably need surgery. You shouldn't be playing. That's how tough Ryan Tannehill is. Come on. You could not like him as a quarterback. But when you're playing and you're practicing and they have to tap you on the shoulder and go, you do know that injury is like a season-ending injury. You need surgery. He's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm the starting quarterback.
Right. We're trying to make the playoffs here.
Right. It's what we do. My career's only got a little bit of time left. I mean, I'm going to spend plenty of time with Lauren and the kids. I mean, So gives you an idea how tough he is. But now the Titans, who have lost 4 in a row, got to turn to Malik Willis. And as we've seen, he ain't ready. Remember, he was a project coming out of the draft. Well, now he's the starting quarterback. And Joshua Dobbs is the backup. So, I mean, they say Mike Vrabel can coach. Well, we're going to find out just how good that defense is and how good that coaching staff is. Pro Bowl selections were handed out yesterday. And, Mark, the funny thing is there's no more Pro Bowl. Now, there's going to be, I don't know, a wiffle ball game with Peyton and Eli as the respective head coaches. And, I think there's a trip involved. You can bring the family and all. But there's no more Pro Bowl game. But they hand out the Pro Bowl selections. 8 Eagles, by the way. 8 Eagles, 7 Cowboys and Chiefs, 6 Ravens and Niners, 5 Vikings. For the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, Xavier Howard, the 3 Pro Bowlers. For the Bucks, just Tristan Wirfs. For the Jags, Zip Zilch Nada. So there. The Pro Bowl, which doesn't exist anymore. But the selections, well, that gets you paid.
Did you see the film of Ron Rivera surprising all of his guys, bringing them into the office and congratulating them? And the special teamer, I think Joshua Allen, I believe, just broke right down.
Because
guy who's been cut 4 times.
Yep.
Was the last cut 4 different times, made the team as a special teamer and gets the nod as a special teams Pro Bowler. Was really, if you haven't seen it, it's cool stuff.
Yep. And also how genuinely happy his teammates were for him.
Right.
Yeah, it was good. Indianapolis making a change at quarterback, as if it matters. But Nick Foles going to start. He was asked yesterday, hey, have you taken a first-team rep in practice this year? He said, nope, not a one. Yet somehow Jeff Saturday says he gives us the best chance to win. How the hell would you know? Let's be honest. How the hell would you know?
Because he's seen what the other 2 have done, and they haven't been able to win with them.
Yesterday, obviously, a sad day in the NFL. We found out almost 24 hours ago that Franco Harris had passed away at the age of 72. Also, 31-year-old Ronnie Hillman, who was a running back for 5 years in the league. He was on the 2015 Super Bowl champion Broncos. He passed away from liver cancer, 31 years old. Yesterday, a big day in college football. It was the first day of the early signing period, NLI day. The consensus top 2 classes are Alabama and Georgia.
No.
I know.
Well, I tell you, really, Kirby's really picked it up his recruiting. You know, he and Nick both working a lot harder these days.
Right. Well, and once again, all the forecasting of the game is, past Nick by, and, Alabama's going to begin their downslide. 6 5-stars yesterday, including 2 from the same high school in Alabama. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think Alabama's going to be okay, ladies. I just call it a hunch. I think they're going to be okay as long as he is there. I mean, he dyes his hair every week. He's going to keep looking younger than he is. I mean, come on. He'll be fine. It depends on where you turn. Miami, 3rd best class, according to ESPN. 4th best class, according to 24/7. Gators, 9th and 12th. Florida State, 19th and 20th. So basically, the consensus is Miami had a top 5 class. Florida had right around a top 10 class. And Florida State snuck in and had a top 20 class. So make your conclusions accordingly. Bud Elliott, a reminder, less than an hour from now, we'll go through all of it and let him tell us winners, losers, answer some of your questions, etc. Bud Elliott, 50 minutes from now. College
UCF 52nd, as they're trying to jump into the big boy world.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
No, it's not. And I just think it needs to be pointed out. Sorry to interrupt you there, David, but the UCF guy wants to say we're the big 4. Well, you got to do better than 52nd.
And Gus can recruit, obviously. He did a very good job at Auburn recruiting. He had top 10 classes there. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, do we have to give them a little bit of a mulligan until they actually get in the Big 12? That maybe that in and of itself will help them 10, 15 spots just by being in the conference.
I think so. But as we talk about them being a perennial team to win that, right, they've got to keep up with those that are in that conference, and 52nd doesn't do it.
No, it doesn't. Also, Colorado top 40, right?
The 24/7 one that I've got in front of me, Colorado is 53rd, actually.
Okay. I thought I saw a service that had them like 38th yesterday.
It's possible. I've just got 24/7 in front of me.
Oh, we'll talk to Bud about it coming up 50 minutes from now. 2 top 25 college basketball upsets. 24th ranked Va-Tech lost in overtime to BC. 25th ranked Arizona State got beat by 37 by the Dons of San Francisco. 97-60. Going back to the whole sometimes, Mark, the kids start Christmas break before the coaches. In state, Florida State edged Notre Dame 73-72. UCF beat Stetson by 15. FGCU got a late 3 to beat Canisius by 3. FAMU lost to Kentucky by 20. FAU beat Northern Kentucky by 15, and FIU beat Incarnate Word 79-74. Women's basketball, Gators lost to Oklahoma by 16. South Florida, give them credit, Mark. Yesterday, the Bulls lost to third-ranked Ohio State in overtime by 2. They didn't sulk. They came back the next day and beat 17th-ranked Arkansas in overtime 66-65. Good for them. They should be ranked. FGCU UCF won, FAU lost, and Florida State beat Miami in women's hoops 92-85. How about this Hall of Fame class? And Mark, I know you don't do Hall of Fames, and I do.
I know, but I looked at this morning, and this is really impressive.
This could impress you. How many of these guys don't get in their first time eligible? Greg Popovich, Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Pau Gasol, Dwayne Wade. All nominated for the first time. And if you're wondering why it took this long for Popovich, basically he told the Hall for 10 plus years, don't. I'm not interested. Don't. And either he finally changed his tune or the Hall said, I don't know what to tell you, Greg. You're getting old. We're tired of waiting. Also, by the way, Jim Larinaga nominated for the Basketball Hall of Fame. He just picked up his 700th win recently. Good for him, the Canes coach who has Miami ranked. Orlando rallied from 10 down at the half mark to beat Houston 116-110.
It's because that's what they do, David.
Yeah, they're the Magic. Hello.
Huh.
Cavs got 36 from Donovan Mitchell. You know what? This is actually one of those regular season games in which both teams decided to play. They played everybody. They went after one another. You know, like maybe it could be a first or second round playoff series. And Cleveland beat Milwaukee in Cleveland 114-106. How about that? Indiana beat Boston 117-112. What the? It's 3 in a row at home the Celtics have lost.
Haven't done that in a calendar year.
Pacers led this game by 30 in the third quarter. And Toronto got 52 from Siakam to beat the Knicks 113-106, snap New York's 8-game winning streak. There were other games. You could text Felipe directly and talk to him about them. Same with the NHL. There were a bunch of games. We're going to tell you about 2 of them. Lightning lost in Detroit 7-4. Final a little worse in the game. Detroit scored 2 empty netters in the final 2.5 minutes. And the Devils went to Sunrise and beat the Panthers 4-2, snapping their 6-game losing skid. I think the Panthers are going to miss the playoffs, Mark.
Well, they lost that trade, and we all know it when they ended up with Tkachuk. It was nice that they got Tkachuk, but it wasn't the player that Huberdeau was, and they didn't win that trade. And they've gotten worse.
And they, got brought in the new head coach and Paul Maurice, and right now it's not working. They're like a 500 hockey team. And in the East, that ain't close to making the playoffs.
No.
I mean, that'll miss the playoffs by 20 points, the pace that the Panthers are on right now. Mark, every now and then the blind squirrel finds the acorn. I said, wrong team favored. Western Kentucky won the New Orleans Bowl. They were a 4-point dog, 44-23 over South Alabama. Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl later today, Mark. Air Force, wrong team favorite. They're getting 4. Take Air Force against Baylor, by the way. I'm 6-6 on the bowls. I told you I'd keep track. I'd be honest about it. 6-6. Messi apparently is not going to Miami in the MLS after all. He said, I verbally agreed to return to PSG for another year, and I still had a year left on my contract. So I'm pretty much there through June of 24.
Those team meetings are going to be real awkward.
Well, at this point, I don't think Messi cares. All right. Just it's bad news for Pele, the soccer legend. His cancer is spreading, and that he's going to stay in the hospital through Christmas, and the forecast is not good. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you go, Mark. Little this, little that.
The Lightning had been playing really well, now losing 2 in a row and getting a snow out in Buffalo.
Right.
As we talked about, probably a good break for the Lightning right now.
They can go to that casino downtown. There's a couple of nice bars there. All right. They can have some wings, some roast beef sandwiches. I think it'll work out just fine for them. They'll have the Christmas break coming up, right? The NHL takes 3 days. They don't play the 24th, 25th, 26th. I'm betting the Lightning hard first game after the break. Hard.
But you are right about the Florida Panthers. They are a scuffling.
Yeah.
And there's no real rhyme or reason hasn't been any consistent good play. I've watched a bunch of their games. Last year, they were fun, exciting, and fast. This year, they're inconsistent.
Have been for 2 years. Fun, exciting, and fast. I mean, heck, Mark, they were the best regular season team in the league last year.
And they're 500 right now in the National Hockey League. If you're good, that's tough to do. Miller and Moulton. Bud Elliott in about 40 minutes to talk about signing day right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, FLGolfCarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Well, David, it's not $15 to park at an Everblades game because they hit you with fees too. It's $16.55 is what they charge my credit card.
Oh, come on.
I literally want to call and complain about the $1.55. That actually pisses me off. I don't care about the $15. The extra $1.55 they charge me pisses me off.
Is it because you used your card?
You have to use your card. They don't take cash.
What?
David, they don't take cash. Cards only. You can use Apple Pay or Google Pay. You can pay with your phone. You know, if you got Apple Pay on your phone, you can use that. But they don't take cash.
I hate to say it, but it's the future.
Thanks for that, Felipe. In other breaking news, the sun will rise today.
Here's why that pisses me off, though, Felipe, and not because I'm an old guy. You know, there are a lot of people that early in their adulthood get into financial difficulties, and they get it together and they work their way out of it. And one of the things they say is, hey, listen, let's not use the credit cards. Let's pay with cash, okay? And then you're going out to enjoy yourselves. And they force you to use a credit card. I don't want to use my credit card.
Well, you can use a debit card, so you're not necessarily using a credit card. But yes, I see what you mean.
You're right. You're right. I agree.
But I don't like them charging me another $1.55 when they say it's 15.
I agree.
Like
I agree.
That irritates me. It says $15. It should be $15.
Right.
There's nothing on there that said a fee, and I didn't get a receipt. So I'm a little pissed off about that.
It's false advertising.
No, it's not advertising because I wasn't buying it. It's not. They didn't advertise that payment. It's fraud is what it actually is.
There you go. That's the word.
Well, no. I mean,
no, it's fucking fraud.
You can take a picture of the sign send it to them, okay, and go, doesn't say anything here about $1.55 in fees. I want my refund. And yes, to everybody in the Twitch chat room, we know you can park at Miramar and walk over, okay? What if you don't want to? What if you have people with you who can't make the walk?
So, Mark, you mentioned earlier that has the fourth best.
On my service, they have the third
in the nation.
Correct.
So this seems like a reoccurring theme now.
No, they haven't had a
Preseason?
class this good. They've
Ever.
never had a class.
Or-
They haven't had a class this good since Jimmy was there.
Butch Davis.
Or yeah, you're right, Butch.
Okay, or just like a top 10 class. I don't know. Just feel like I've heard this every
No.
year. Oh,
No, you
that's-
haven't.
No, you haven't.
No, you
No?
haven't.
No, you haven't.
No, you
Oh.
haven't.
Okay. All right. We'll see. Hey, we'll see. $15 seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday before Christmas. As Hanukkah continues, happy Hanukkah. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. But Elliott in a little more than 30 minutes as we discuss recruiting. Yesterday, the first day of the early signing period. Mark, you and I, we're on board with NIL, and you and I advocated for an early signing period for a very long time. But do we need to make it earlier? And I ask because doesn't this seem to be getting in the way? I mean, in 2 years, most likely, possibly 4, but most likely in 2024, we're going to have a 12-team playoff. Can you really have early signing period right in the middle of the damn playoff?
I don't think so. And I think I don't know what the right time is, if it's December 1st, get through Thanksgiving weekend, but I know you've got to try to, as best you can, let the high school kids finish their year, which typically is done around Thanksgiving weekend, most parts of the country, correct?
Yeah. I mean, state playoffs can go into early December in most states, but yeah, regular seasons are usually over before Thanksgiving.
And I thought and the playoffs are done. So I think even just moving it 10 or so days, David.
Well, that's
make it the second Tuesday in December.
So like the Tuesday after Army Navy?
Right.
But remember, in theory, that's going to be like week 1 of the playoff. Now, it only involves 8 teams, but I don't know. This seems because
when do you want to move it to?
Well, I was thinking late August, to be brutally honest. I mean, or how about we adopt the rule that these kids can commit any damn time they want? Why do they have to all wait for one day? I mean, just you're ready to go? Go. Where do you want to go? I want to go to Iowa. Oh, send in the paperwork. Go. It's done. It's over with.
Be interesting to see. I don't think the schools would be before the season starts.
Oh, no, because they want to keep recruiting and they want to be able to raise the money and steal you from, but I don't know. This seems now in the way. December seems like a bad idea now to me. Because let's be honest, you're Billy Napier and the Gators. Now, they had half a team. They weren't going to beat Oregon State anyway. I have no idea why the line was what the line was. That was the bowl lock of the year. They were sending half a team and a fourth-string quarterback to play in the Vegas Bowl. But if you're Billy Napier and his staff, do you give a rat's about playing Oregon State in the Vegas Bowl 5 days before early signing day?
David, there's not one team playing in a bowl game that cares about the bowl game more than they cared about yesterday. They don't.
Right. So why are we, because remember, you know how college football feels about their damn bowls. We got to keep them going. We got to have a place mark for 6-6 teams to play another game. We do. It's really important. And I'm as dripping with sarcasm as I can be when I'm saying this.
Well, ESPN pays for the sport, and ESPN pays for the bowl game. So they're not going away. We know that.
No. So far, by the way, only the Bahamas Bowl, the only game with less than 1 million viewers. Just so you know. To give you an idea, like a Tuesday, Wednesday night hockey game does about 500,000-600,000. A good one will do 700,000-800,000. So just so you know.
What does the NBA, a regular season NBA game do?
Low,
$1.5 million?
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on the game. But in the 1 to 1.5 range, usually. Then you get a good matchup. You can get high, close to 2, and that sort of deal. But, so to give you an idea, bowl games are comparable to, like, the NBA on TNT. So, yeah, you think ESPN's giving that up? No.
And they know it now over 20 years exactly what the advertisers know what the audience is going to be. The network knows, here's what it costs, sign here.
So I'm wondering, though, can we keep doing this early signing period when we're doing it? And I don't know how much time I want to spend with Bud on it because I want to cover as much ground as possible. Maybe we'll leave it to another day. But I'm just wondering if you're putting this sport together now, we talked about, first off, just how you're going to schedule the damn playoff. You can't leave everything go till New Year's Day. You're going to have to play the first round on campuses, pick your weekend. So the schedule's already an absolute jambalaya of a mess. And now we're going to throw an early signing period in? So then what? It becomes a disadvantage if you make the playoff for recruiting? I can't spend the week on the road. I got to get ready for my 7-10 matchup? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm just curious, is this date going to continue? Do you push it early signing? You push it to mid-January?
Unless they get rid of it altogether and go back to a February date, which I could never see happening.
Yeah, I can't see either. That's why I'm wondering, do you just make early signing? Like, for example, in basketball, the early signing period was right as the season was starting. Like in your neck of the woods, used to be mine as well, FGCU got a commit from a highly recruited point guard out of Philadelphia. Kid just won MVP of the City of Palms tournament. He officially signed with FGCU right as the season was starting. It was the earliest you could sign. Why can't we do it in football? He's a senior in high school. He was signing away to FGCU, but essentially as his senior year of high school season was starting. Why can't we do it
playing his senior year? That's the key part. It wouldn't affect so many kids now are entering college early in football. It wouldn't affect that one bit. If they signed in August, they could still enroll in January. And in fact, would enhance that.
So I'm wondering, do we have to make it an early signing period? Do we just move this sucker up?
I would imagine they will not initially. I think it'll be the status quo until the complaints start coming.
Well, it'll be rich. The schools that'll be complaining, they'll be the ones in the playoff.
Exactly.
The other schools will have a lot of sympathy for them. Shut up. Get your 4- and 5-star recruits while winning playoff games, you blankety blank. Just wondering. Doesn't this seem, national, letter of intent day, and you're like, well, wait a minute. We're like a third of the way through the bowls. We got the big games are just coming up. In 2 years, the big games will have been last week.
Because the late signing day doesn't even exist really anymore. If you look at what the commits are from yesterday, while teams still have a spot here and a spot there, most of them have signed their class.
Right. Yeah, there's a few kids who decommitted late for whatever reason, and now they're going to hold out as long as they can to see how much money they can get. It's just like baseball free agency, Mark. You let the first wave go, and you got the one guy that sits back and waits.
And then he doesn't pass a physical with the Giants, and all of a sudden he's a Met.
Exactly. And the same thing's going to happen in high school / college football. A kid's going to be committed to Michigan State, and then all of a sudden there's problems. He's going to decommit, and he's going to end up at Alabama. And that's how it happens.
And if not Alabama, it'll be Georgia.
Yeah, or Ohio State.
Or hopefully for you folks, Miami, Florida. We'll see on Florida State. They've done well in the portal. They're paying portal kids pretty well. I don't know how much they're paying the recruits right now. They're trying to get this all worked out.
Right. I will say the two teams coming off lousy seasons that apparently did well. And the other thing is, do we just have to start referring to college football as an off season? Because you got recruiting, but you also got the portal, and you got both sides of the portal. So when you think about it, is college football going to become like NBA, NFL? And you got free agency, then you got the draft. Don't you view the portal as like free agency and that yesterday was the draft?
100%. And they're both free agency. Because you can't go draft a recruit. You got to pay the recruit. It's just what level of free agency is it? There's the high school free agency period, and then there's the college free agency period. Because the one thing that's starting to come out, and I think one of the things you need to pay attention to is, when is there going to be a college football coach that decides he's going to be the whistleblower? Because they're starting to really complain about the tampering that's going on, but they haven't named names yet.
Pat Narduzzi came close. He was this close the other day. This close. And it wasn't even about his kid. That's the other thing. He stood up at the podium and he said, listen, there are two schools that I know offered May, the quarterback at North Carolina, $5 million to go play for them. Now, I'm not going to name them, but, and it's like, come on. You're on a roll.
But to me, do what you want with the signing period. And David, your reasons behind it are all admirable, and you're right. I'm waiting for the coach to go scorched earth because they're getting close. Narduzzi was up in arms about it the other day as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Because these are Power 5 schools that their guys are getting taken away from them for money, and they can't do anything about it.
I'm just wondering if it's too convoluted. You know how in the NFL the season ends, and then what do we have? We wait about a month, and then we have free agency. And then we get it all out of the way, and then what do we have? We have the draft. The NBA, late June, what do they have? They have a draft. And then a week or so later, you know what they have? The beginning of free agency, when all the legal tampering occurs. And that's what I'm wondering with college football. Do they just need to separate the two? Can you have the draft and free agency at the same time you're doing the playoffs? Even the professional sports go, no. You got to separate it a little bit.
Spread this out. Get more exposure.
Also, the coaches only have so much time. I can't be game planning and recruiting the same week. Unless I hire, 20 more interns. That's what Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are going to do. Well, we need more interns.
More polos in the team picture coming this year.
That's right.
Miller and Moulton. Bud Elliott to talk about this in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just worked with me. Everyone liked the pot, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Klecko, I'd argue, first off, if the school doesn't test for it, you don't have to worry about keeping them away.
Miami's 8th in the portal and 4th in the other one, according to 24/7.
Good, because they needed about 40 new guys.
Right. They've only got 4 transfer commits. Florida State's got 6. Michigan's got 7 already, and they're all pretty good. Michigan's quietly done really well in the portal.
Well, that's a whole philosophy argument. All right. Do you want to invest in the high school kids? How many of them are going to transfer on you? How many of them are not going to work out on you? And how many years is it going to take to get them to the level of the kid you can get as a transfer?
Well, and what I mean, like they got the kid from Virginia last year that was up for the lineman award, the best center in the country, and he came over.
Is that the Remington?
Remington, yeah, that's exactly it. All right, I'm going through 24/7's guys. Unless I'm seeing check marks next to all the school. So far, we don't have we got Deuce Robinson, player number 17. He hasn't committed yet. We have player number 16, who's a verbal to South Carolina, but hasn't committed yet. All right, so we got we got a few guys who have not committed yet up high.
Well, there was a kid. Did he commit who was verbal to Miami?
He is not. Cormani McLean, are you talking about?
Is that the one that Dion's called at the last minute and said,
is this
dude?
The cornerback from Lakeland? Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Number 2 player in the country. He still could opt out. Number 9 player in the country. Kid that's going to A&M. Number 14. Number 16. Number 17. So there's still, the kids that can be flipped, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so effing tired.
You got a nap in your future, baby. 11 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Your 11 to 1, 11 to 2 nap will be glorious.
Oh, I'm debating whether I should do Christmas before or after.
No, absolutely not. You go home and go to sleep.
Do Christmas?
Yeah, she's going to her parents. I'm going to my parents. Are doing Christmas today.
No. You go to take a nap first.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott, in a little more than 15 minutes' time. We'll have 15 minutes to talk as much college football, recruiting, what happened yesterday, the portal. We will cover as much ground as possible, as many teams as possible with Bud in 15 or so minutes. Did you watch at all your Michigan State Spartans last night?
Not a second.
Did you see the sweater that Izzo had on?
It was priceless.
OMG. It's a finalist for the office party ugly sweater contest, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Might be a winner.
It could be, depending on the office party. I mean, it wouldn't have won any of the ones that we went to together. It just would have gotten a lot of, slaps on the back. Hey, that's good. So that was an elf, right? He was an elf.
He was an elf. Yeah, he was an elf, which fits because he's short.
Right. And it had the Kelly green sweater and the white design and what have you. It wasn't Spartan green, but that's okay.
It was something.
He looked like the boss elf from Rudolph.
Yes.
And he yeah, go for it.
And so he dresses like that for the game in public, not a press conference, not, no.
Home game. Right.
Right. He's playing his buddy, Greg Campy at Oakland there. They're longtime buds. He plays them every year. He beats them every year at home. Okay. I think he won by like 15 last night, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that who they played?
Yeah, they did. In Campy wore a Grinch shirt.
Right.
For the record. I mean, they both were dressed up wearing their ugly Halloween sweaters. I mean, there was a point here.
So did you see that Izzo gets teed up? Now, in theory, Mark, the whole thing's spectacular. How do you tee up an elf? Okay. As the official, how do you tee up an elf? Okay. Then secondly, how does an elf get that mad to get teed up? I mean, the visual on Izzo getting the tee and then his 40 seconds of being held back and yelling and the other ref having to come over dressed
as an elf,
right, is to me the highlight of the college basketball season so far.
I think you're right. The angry elf. Tom Izzo as the angry elf.
Yes. Yes.
On Hallmark tonight, Tom Izzo starring as the angry elf.
Right. The first hour of the show, he's angry, he's bitter, life sucks. And then, of course, he meets a young lady, things turn. And by the end, he's got a smile on his face.
Pays 6 recruits, and they're ranked in the top 20 again.
Right. It's kind of like the college basketball game last night. First half, they struggled. It was a tight game. He gets the tee, come out of the locker room in the second half. Pretty girl, the whole deal, win by 15. But if you're the official, I mean, I don't blame the official. I'm sure Izzo earned it in spades. I mean, come on, Mark. You've been there. I mean, Izzo earns those technicals.
He earns every one. No, I mean, he actually doesn't get teed up. I think there are a lot of coaches, the Boeheims, the Izzos, those that have the gravitas to be able to get away with a little bit more, say a little bit more. I think Izzo's teed up 5 times less a year on average than he should be.
Totally agree. But he's dressed as an elf. I urge everybody to go find it. It's 1 minute of your time. Hopefully you get the video. They give it a few seconds before him getting teed. First time I saw it, it was like right as he got teed. Because first, like you said, Mark, the angry elf. I mean, as a ref, it's tough to keep a straight face.
I'd be laughing. I'd look at him and I'd look right at him and say, I'd probably get him really fired up.
Yes.
Did Santa give you permission to yell like that?
You would. You'd look right at him and go, "Are you allowed to get that angry wearing that sweater?"
Hey, elf, get your ass back to the North Pole and make some toys. I mean, I couldn't help it.
Really, he steps out of the coach's box. I could see you going, "Get your ass back in the North Pole."
Double T him. I'll make your ass walk to that locker room, Alf.
You're going to need a lot more than Rudolph if you don't get back behind that line. It's awesome, and I love that Campy went along with it. I do. That's ugly Christmas sweater contest. Only they're 2 Division I head coaches. Tell you what, it's inspired me, Mark, because not only am I bringing the Fragile lamp
again.
Yeah. Buck asked for it. He said, "Are you bringing the lamp?" I said, "You want it, I'll bring it." So we're going to try to bring the Fragile lamp again to Indianapolis. And, I thought of when I saw Izzo and Campy, I said, "Oh, I can wear an ugly sweater."
Did you go buy one?
No, I'm going to wear
the occasion.
No, I'm going to wear the one I should have won the damn ugly sweater contest at that Christmas party we went to like 8 years ago.
So you're going to have that up in the booth. You're coming, and are you going to walk to the stadium in it this time?
Damn right. It's going to be cold. It's going to be like 15 degrees. Damn right I'll walk in with it. Listen, let's be honest. Walking into that stadium Monday, what's worse? Me in my ugly sweater or wearing a Colts jersey?
Wow.
It's too easy.
That's a shot.
Damn right it is.
If there's a team that's as non-clutch as the Colts, please name them for us because they have blown a lot of close. They're bad and have blown close games.
They're coming off just losing a 33-point lead. They're 4-9-1. You're going to criticize my sweater?
No, I just wanted to get the visual of whether or not you're going to walk in with the sweater. You're going to be carrying a lamp, walking in with a sweater to the stadium. It's going to be
the Fragile lamp, not a lamp, the Fragile lamp.
Oh, boy. Miller and Moulton. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Felipe, what do you got?
We got more NBA basketball. What do you know? Ayo Dosunmu with a game-winning buzzer beater, second night in a row.
Io holding and looking in play. To the Rosen, turnaround jumper, left corner for the win. No, put back at the buster. Got it! Io win! Io don't sumu with the putback. The basketball gods love the Bulls.
For those of you that don't know, Io DeSomo plays for the Chicago Bulls, and they defeated the Atlanta Hawks 110-108. Any of that introduction did not spell out who was playing, who they were playing for, and what teams were involved.
Sorry, my mind does this thing where our audience knows the NBA, but they don't. Apparently,
I want you to walk around today.
Walk around where?
Walk around at City of Palms and ask how many people know
it's over. Where?
And know who DeSomo is. Just walk around and ask random people who that is, because you said that like it's a Hall of Famer.
He's a guard for the Chicago Bulls.
Right.
By the way. And that's your clutch play of the day. Clutch with a K.
It was clutch with a K. It was a game winner. They've had a nice road trip so far, back-to-back nights. They went to Miami and Atlanta and won, and they needed it because they were barely in the play-in in the East.
It was almost not clutch because DeRozan shot an air ball that he caught and put back. I mean, there was being in the right place at the right time. He was clutch for being in the right place at the right time and making a putback. The shot before it was an air ball by the guy you actually know who that is on the Chicago Bulls. But that is our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Go to clutchspirits.com, hashtag all your drink with the hashtag Clutch Spirits, and that is clutch with a K.
You know who's clutch with a K? Bud Elliott. He's joining us next. We're going to answer a bunch of questions. We're going to put him on the clock, Mark. We're going to tell him we got 15 minutes. All right. So none of this, niceties between us. Okay. We're asking the questions. We want answers, Bud.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Test.
Yeah, we got you.
Where are you, bud?
What?
I'm in the hotel down here in Lauderdale. We were shooting from the Fort Lauderdale CBS Sports Studios.
Okay.
Where you
How'd
guys
yesterday go for you?
It was good, man. It was we got a little drama and a lot of analysis done, which is good because our guys know the players really well, and that's kind of what we're looking for, right?
All right, one off-air question because no one cares on air. My Sparties, they didn't have a lot of guys, but it looked like they did pretty well because that's a lot of 4-stars for Michigan State.
Yeah, they definitely did well. I mean, I don't think that Ishbia buying the Suns is going to kill y'all's recruiting. I think he's probably got enough to go around. Yeah, like they got some kids who, like Jordan Hall, the linebacker they got out of IMG is more like I think like an early contributor type. I don't know if his ceiling is like, Pro Bowl, maybe it is, but he's somebody who's like physically ready. So they'll be better. Like they were so banged up this year. I know people want to bang on Tucker, but like,
oh man, do
that
they
defensive roster got wrecked early.
They're kind of like what Florida State was, weren't they? If they got injured, you're just dead.
And they honestly, like, they weren't as good as their record the prior year.
No, they weren't.
So the drop off looks more significant.
Yes.
It's
also, Bud, let's be honest. He got paid. Okay, that's he overachieves. He gets paid $9 million before all of a sudden the Mark Stoops of the world were making $8.5 million. Okay, he was the trendsetter. And then he comes off that season and is not bowl eligible, and so everybody thinks he's a fraud.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. I mean, if you get the check, you're going to get
the hate. Boy, that's a true statement right there.
Oh man.
Which of course, Mark, begs the question: how come you and I get so much hate? We haven't gotten the check. What the hell?
That is true. I was getting hate before I got paid. So this is
no, it's because we have the job that others think they could do better. That's everybody thinks they can do this job. They don't think
every man in America thinks thinks you can talk about sports, think you can grill better. There's
and I will tell you, it was so funny when I was doing a show in Raleigh, North Carolina. I only did 2 hours. It was late in the afternoon. It was the first show I did. My buddy came in and I said, "Come on, you're going to come co-host with me." And so I wrote down what I thought we finished the first segment. He had everything done that he thought he wanted to talk about. We're 15 minutes in of a 2-hour show. And he looks at me and goes, "Holy shit, man." I'm like, yeah. There's
yesterday we have Tom Herman on. I know Tom a little bit. And they're like, control room is telling me, all right, you have 25 minutes left with Tom. I was like, well, I have 7 minutes of questions total because that's what you told me that we had him for. So I don't know, like, I'm going to ad-lib the remaining 18 minutes on FAU. Okay. Like, are we sure that's a good use of airtime? But no, it was interesting.
We're going to try to cover as much ground as possible. So there may be a little less, jocularity than usual. Cause obviously a lot of fan bases, a lot of questions. We may go one or two big picture questions early.
Sure.
But then we'll probably rapid fire you.
I'm down.
All right.
Last day before I just dump all this stuff out of my brain. And
totally. Right. You're cramming for finals and they're over tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Here's a question. Do you have any idea what Santa is bringing your kids? Or did you completely pawn that off?
So I do.
Okay.
At least for my eldest. I have no idea what the 1-year-old is getting.
Wow.
But I know that. Yeah.
Santa a cardboard box.
Exactly. Yeah. Probably more plastic stuff. We have to find a place to store. The 3-year-old is getting a rescue helicopter. That he saw, and he's like, it's kind of, they usually don't stick on one toy for a while, but like he's asked for it for a couple of months in a row. And it's like, okay. All right.
15 seconds.
And everything's Spider-Man.
Okay.
Maggie bought like 7 pairs of Spider-Man pajamas because like he would just throw a fit if it wasn't Spider-Man. It was like,
I just,
this is like what? Like $8 per pair? Like just spend the $40.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
And
I just thought you were talking about you and your wife. Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. He normally joins us on Wednesdays. He was kind of busy yesterday. We said, okay, let's do it Thursday. Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, the Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's, Bud Elliott 3, Bud Elliott 3. Bud, first off, a Merry Christmas and all the best to you and your family. And thanks so much for joining us all year. Our audience loves it.
Merry Christmas, guys. I love this early signing period where we're still working hard right up right up until Christmas Eve. You know, I'm always glad to do the show, and we got a lot of recruiting to talk about today.
Well, it's funny you mentioned early signing period. Mark and I got into it, and we want to cover as much ground as possible, but quickly, all three of us were in favor of early signing period. It seems now, though, as if, are we sure this is the right time to have it? I mean, in 2 years, we're going to have first-round playoff games last week. I mean, are we going to have to move this day either to January or August?
So, like, the NFL does not hold the Super Bowl, the draft, and the opening of free agency all on the same day, right? and that's because they're smart, and that's because college football is sort of dumb. I was in favor of it from a media perspective for sure, because you get 2 bites at the apple, right? In theory. Now, what has happened is that for the most part, all these kids get pressured into signing early, or they just simply want to sign early. But I think the real, as you mentioned, the playoff expansion coming is really a driving factor of maybe why we want to change this back to February, where we had it for 20 plus years, and also the opening of the transfer portal and the coinciding transfer windows. So I got drinks last night with the director of personnel, okay, and he was like, "Dude, we didn't get to do in-home visits with our high school recruits because we were having to go in-home with our players on our current roster to make sure they weren't going to transfer." Like, this is not a workable system long-term for us. And I honestly, I think it will probably be here to stay for longer than we want, because the biggest head coaches in the game are not having to do that, right? They're not these guys that are working back office, and they don't want to babysit the high-profile recruits who are committed to them verbally but not officially signed. They don't want to babysit that for another 6-7 weeks until the first Wednesday in February. They want to just get it done so they can enjoy their holiday season if they're not in the playoff.
One more broad question. Of the top players, I saw 4 of the top 15, 16 players that still haven't signed that are committed. How many players from a percentage standpoint are still out there for the late signing period? Teams that obviously can still improve upon, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of guys left.
Yeah, of the very best players, like in our top 24/7, our top 247, probably like 2 or 3% are uncommitted. I mean, there are very few out there who are, and a couple kids are just waiting until today. For some, I think it's a school related issue or whatever. Sometimes it's like parents getting off work to be able to go and hold a ceremony. So as far as the guys that we truly don't know about, I mean, you're talking about just a small handful. Almost all of the top players are in the boat.
All right, let's cover ground. I keep seeing Ohio State and Notre Dame on the quote-unquote losers list. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't they both in the top 10? So what's going on?
So different stories here. Notre Dame is a team that just got out such a hot start, but they do lose Peyton Bowen yesterday, a really good safety out of Texas. A lot of people thought that Oregon was going to take him. Dan Lanning in Oklahoma actually swoops in and gets him, and that was really a wild one down to the stretch. Guys, this is still a really strong class from Marcus Freeman in his first full class with the Irish, and that's always what we talk about, right? In this new early signing period era, when you only have 2 or 3 weeks to put together your first official class, it's that first full year class that kind of makes or breaks your tenure in many cases. So we've seen so far, like, that's the class you got to load your roster up with, and it's a really good class. But Notre Dame fans are angry because it is not a Bama, Georgia level class. And I think that's what they thought they were getting with Freeman, somebody that's going to elevate the recruiting above what Brian Kelly got. And look, this is still the highest rated Notre Dame recruiting class, I think, or at least as of like yesterday afternoon it was, that the Irish have signed in the modern recruiting rankings era. But it's not that Bama, Georgia, obviously what A&M did last year level. With Ohio State, I think their fans are annoyed that maybe their collective is not quite as good as some others. They were losing defensive backs down the stretch yesterday. This will go unnoticed because it's not a high school recruit, but Ohio State did not land A.J. Cornelius, who's the number 1 tackle in the transfer portal. And to be frank, the drop-off from number 1 to number 2 is huge. And Ohio State needs 2 transfer tackles this year because they're going to lose both their kids early to the NFL. So I think that's why their fans are annoyed. They're like, man, we got the quarterbacks coming in, but we lost Raiola, obviously the 24, who may go to Nebraska where his dad, Dominic Raiola, coaches. I know I'm rambling here on Ohio State. They didn't lock down their studs at the end as well as their fans had hoped.
All right, Miami had an amazing day. Is this the start of? We can't predict what the future is, but are they this? Did they kind of replace A&M of the team that swooped into the top 10? Because it looks as if they're pretty close to what Alabama and Georgia had.
So they did have an amazing signing class overall. Their fans are kind of annoyed because they have a verbal commitment from Cormani McClain, but that was the absolute drama of the entire day. And thank you, Cormani McClain, for providing us some drama on a day that was maybe not quite as eventful because a lot of the hay was in the barn, as we've covered on a daily basis. So Cormani McClain, number one cornerback in the country out of Lakeland High School, big time get for the Hurricanes. He verbaled to them, which shocked people. Everybody thought he was going to Florida. Now we're hearing maybe some Bama smoke involved here. Nick Saban revenge tour after what happened last year on the recruiting trail. We'll see if the Hurricanes can keep him in the boat. He's not officially decommitted, but he did take some of the Miami stuff off his social media. Now, for the guys that did sign with Miami, increasingly, you can get DBs and decent receivers and stuff like that in the transfer portal. The big bodied types, the really elite positions, are not hitting the transfer portal with the frequency or the quantity that you want. Okay, some years are just nobody. Like this year, we have AJ Cornelius, and good luck if you need a tackle and you're not named Oregon, who landed AJ last night. Miami landing two of the top three tackles in the country in Samson Okunlola and Maui Goa. Those are just different body types that you'll never see hit the portal. You have to pay up for those guys. You have to make sure you lock them down. That's a really good gift for them. Keeping Ruben Bain home, whose brother is on the staff, is also really key, a big-time defensive lineman out of Miami. They restocked this roster along the lines of scrimmage extremely well.
Should Gator fans be happy with Napier's first full class? Remember, he got the job like 8 days before the early signing day last year.
I would say that for the most part, they should, but I think there are some reasons, like you lose out on Cormani McClain. Miami beat you for Samson Okunlola. Now, you struck back and you took the quarterback, Jaden Rashada, that Miami had committed very publicly to that huge deal, if you read the reporting from The Athletic. But there were some kids they missed on down the stretch, which I get, but still, it's 18 4-stars, only 2 3-stars. It's a really strong ratio. Florida fans, though, I think were like, hey, we've seen Urban Meyer, we've seen Ron Zook, we've seen when Spurrier was motivated for a couple of years recruiting, that if Florida's doing it really right, this should be a top 5 level class. And instead it's, sort of hanging around 10, 12-ish.
Is there that big of a gap between 5 and 10 in your estimation, Bud?
Yeah, there's a pretty decent gap, right? I mean, it's in terms of points, you're looking at like 20 or 30 points on our scale. Like, it depends on where you cut it. But this year, I mean, top 2, top 3, I think you can throw Texas in there, that top 4. And then there is sort of a drop. Like, I think there's a noticeable difference between 4 and 5, Miami being 4, Ohio State being 5.
Oklahoma did well, didn't they? Coming off a 6-6 season. That's the stuff that, the novices like Miller and Moulton pay attention to. Miami doing so well, coming off 5-7. Oklahoma, what, top 5 class? Right on the border of top 5 class, coming off a 6-6?
Yeah, so we have them 8th, and I think this is really a great, and they did do well. You're right. Now, they lost on Bowen. They lost on this other kid from Utah who's from Hawaii that actually Texas beat them for, surprisingly, yesterday. But overall, I think their fans should be pretty happy. The quarterback you're going to want to know here is named Jackson Arnold. A little bit shorter, a little stockier, big-time arm, extremely productive at one of the highest levels in Texas, just tears it up. Like, one of these guys just doesn't really lose in high school. I think he'll really kill it there. But all these guys you're asking me about, for the most part, Miami, Florida, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, those are all first full classes for those coaching staffs. They don't have to sell results. Kids don't care if Miami went 5-7. Kids don't care if Oklahoma went 6-6 because it was the first year. Because they've probably been told, look, we need you because our roster ain't that good, right? And they knew it was coming. I think it was messaged that way probably for a lot of these schools. And Oklahoma's also now selling the SEC bump, which I think is probably, maybe not enormous, but it's not nothing.
Talk to us about Florida State, Bud. They looked like they had a top 20 class. They're also doing pretty well in the portal. So things going quite well in Tallahassee, aren't they?
Yeah, it's interesting with FSU. So the top of their class is really good. Hakeem Williams is probably the highest ceiling receiver in the country, and that's what Norvell played receiver in college. He's a guy that loves receivers, and that's the dude he targeted early, went out to get. That's from Stranahan High School down there in Fort Lauderdale. They also got Lucas Simmons, who's a 6'8" offensive tackle out of Clearwater that most everybody in the country wanted. So they addressed some premium positions. They did lose Keldrick Falk, though, yesterday to Auburn, which was a major blow for them because they needed that big-time defensive end at the high school level. Their high school class is not that great overall. To me, they took too many 3-stars. You can tell me you love your scouting, but I also look at the input of the market, and the market being all the other top schools out there. How many of these top schools really wanted the bottom half of that Florida State class? In my opinion, not many. However, they are killing the portal, and I think if you're an FSU fan, if you want hope, it's you recruited the portal off a 9-3 season. You had to recruit this high school, basically roster based on going 5-7 last year, and a lot of these kids thinking that your staff was going to get fired. So maybe with a full year of good results to sell, they'll be able to do a little better top to bottom in the high school ranks.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, Cover 3 podcast and Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3, Bud Elliott 3. All right. New coaches at South Florida and FAU, Golish and Herman. Okay. Did they make any progress or no?
Yeah, I actually think that because of the transfer portal and the size of these portal classes that some of these big top schools are going to take, you're going to see some good results for some of these Florida schools. And I think it makes these jobs more attractive. Golesh got some kids I think you should be excited about. FAU got Jordan Church, which if you are from Fort Myers, you know the Church name, right? His uncle, Johnny Church, who was a major recruit down here about a quarter century ago, like one of the top kids in the whole country, signed with Florida. He didn't have like the most amazing career, but still like good bloodlines there. If you care about that kind of thing, a player that I think could be a really nice guard for FAU. But you're also going to get some bounce back transfers who want to come back home. Like these kids that sign with Wisconsin or NC State, or pick your sort of like mid-tier ACC, SEC, Big Ten school. Maybe they're not getting playing time on those rosters. They still have ability. And when they decide to transfer, it's like, you know what, maybe I'll come back home, focus on business. I'll be able to play at FAU. Like getting on the field is important. I think that'll be a major thing that FAU and USF pitch.
All right, UCF from your rankings didn't crack the top 50 and off a bad season, an underperforming season maybe, but heading to the Big 12, I think David and I thought they might do a little bit better. Is this just a honeymoon period before they get there that won't be as good, that will improve when they get to the Big 12? But all in all, how did UCF do?
I thought they did well because they're going to also do really well, most likely in the transfer portal, which I think is something that you have to really look at them, because they only took, like 11 or 13-ish kids. I'm trying to remember, maybe 14. They did land some important players, though. So like John Walker is a guy who really wanted to stay home, I think for some family reasons. He's a kid that Florida actually wanted at defensive tackle. And I think this is a good example of circumstance plus some NIL. Maybe if you can go and get a special player locally who you have a good pitch for, it just makes sense for him to stay home. They're very excited about him. They're also excited about defensive lineman Isaiah Nixon, right? A kid out of St. Pete who was extremely productive. I actually like this kid, Caven Call, that they got, who's a 3-star. I saw him 4 years ago as a freshman for Apopka getting sacks in the state title game. He just never really grew to become like a Bama, Georgia level kid. But at the time, I was like, man, if he grows, there ain't no doubt that he's going to be like a national kid. He just didn't grow, and he's still kind of the same size that he was then. But I think he can be productive at the college level. I think they're actually pretty happy with their class internally. And where it ranks in the new Big 12 is really probably not that bad, because the only two schools in the Big 12 signing 4 and 5 stars are Oklahoma and Texas. Like I got a lot of neighbors that live in Orlando that tell me like, hey, we're going to become like a top 25 recruiting team because we're in the Big 12. The hell you are. What other teams in the Big 12 recruit at that level? Like Oklahoma and Texas, and they ain't going to be there, man. Like that's not probably going to happen. But you can have a good roster. It's just the Big 12 is probably not what you think it is when it comes to recruiting.
All right, we only have 60 seconds. Dion, how does it look as if they're going to do in the portal?
Dion did really well in terms of keeping his name in the press. When Cormani McClain decided he was not going to sign yesterday, I think it got leaked out there that Dion was trying to be involved. I would be kind of shocked if Cormani McClain signed with Colorado, given the other options. But then again, I was pretty shocked last year. He did not get the quality of high school player that I think people expected him to get. He probably will do very well in the portal, as Travis Hunter last night announced that he is going to follow Dion to Colorado. So I'm curious if that Amazon show is going to go shoot Colorado after what they did with Jackson State.
He's Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, Cover 3 podcast, Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3, Bud Elliott the number 3. Bud, once again, thanks for everything you gave us this year. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We will talk again in 2023. Miller and
Appreciate it,
Moulton.
guys.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on Fifth Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
That is a wow.
Yeah, that's a wow. I saw that yesterday, and the only thing is that the guy was actually doing it for self-pleasure, which made it even that much more frightening.
Golly. Morning.
Good morning, Roy.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
Doing great. Yourself?
Can't complain, as always.
Arizona's got a third-string quarterback. That's a promising thing.
Say that again?
Arizona's down to their third-string quarterback. That's a promising thing.
Yeah, the Bucs need all the help they can get.
Well, don't laugh. They could. I mean, in theory, what are they facing? A 4-win team and 2 5-win teams here? I mean, in theory, they should be able to win out and host that playoff game at 9-8.
But you're forgetting the fact they're a 6-win team.
I understand that, but
and
to see 6 is
lucky to be that.
I know 6 is ahead of 4 and 5.
You got that right.
Right. I know when you think about the Rams and Saints games, think how close they are to being 4 and 10.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, the schedule's very favorable for them here.
Yeah, for a moment, it looked like they found themselves.
Hey, for a half last week, I was thinking.
Right. Your glass half full was happening, Roy.
That was a Roy Cummings first half.
Glass half.
It was a
full,
Miller
baby.
and Moulton second half, is what that was.
Yeah, I knew they had it in them.
I got a text from a buddy at the end of the first half. He's a big Bengals fan, and he moved away from here. He's in South Carolina, And he goes, I don't, because he listens a bit, but he goes, didn't listen Friday. My guess is you and Moulton both picked Cincinnati, right?
Yes, sir.
Said that's affirmative.
Yep, for sure. Anybody picking Arizona?
No.
No.
Sports Center's got a bunch of clips of Izzo as the elf.
It's amazing.
With Bah Humbug in the top corner.
Oh, my God.
Have you seen the video, Roy?
I have not.
Izzo wore a ugly Christmas sweater to coach the game yesterday.
Yeah.
And got teed up and he's
he
like
got
an
teed
elf.
up. He's dressed like an elf and he got teed up.
So he's like angry elf stalking the sidelines. It's hysterical.
I got to take a look at that.
And I know we've got a few more weeks, but first off, thanks for everything this year, and an early Merry and Happy to you and yours.
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you guys. I assume we'll be doing this again next week, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And guys, thanks for having me. And you guys have
love
been
it.
So good to me. So good to me. I just can't thank you enough. It's fun to be a part of it.
How's Bay News 9 going?
Good. Do segments. We tape 2 or 3 segments every Tuesday night, and it's good. It's good. Allows me to stay in it.
One of the guys that we like here locally left to take a lead anchor. Jeff Butera took a lead anchor.
Oh yeah, okay.
Really good guy, sharp guy. He's been in this market for a while. So
he wrote a book, by the way, that says "Write as You Talk." And it's
Oh.
actually in the industry. It's like the book, like people hand to young reporters and anchors and
Yes.
say, "Here, read this."
You know what? I'm going to pick that up because I have long been an advocate of writing as you talk. Because we communicate in a different way than we write, and why? I mean,
seconds.
It's got to be right, but at the end of the day, communicate better.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the 8 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. A reminder, Dr. Roto coming up in about 35 minutes. Start thinking of your questions, and in the next 35 minutes, start sending them in via the text line at 21,000, or if you're watching us in the Twitch chat room, you can send them there as well. And if you are watching us, you can see Roy Cummings with a smile on his face once again. Bay News 9, pewterpirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, rcummings FHCN, rcummings FHCN. Roy, hope your holiday season is going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. All the shopping is almost all the shopping. A couple of stocking stuffers to pick up here tonight or tomorrow, and then we'll be good to go.
Well, Roy, that first half of the Bucs was a Roy Cummings first half. That was a glass half full. But that's the team against Cincinnati. You watch that first half and you go, why can't they do this more often? I know the second half was a dud. I get it, but that first half, that's kind of what you've been talking about. Everything was working for 30 minutes.
Exactly what I've been talking about. Precisely what I believe this team clearly is capable of doing. The problem is they can't seem to do it for 60 minutes. They can do it for 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 3 minutes here, enough to win 6 games. But as you said, I mean, they follow it up with arguably one of the worst halves any team has had all season long. I mean, just unconscionable. Some of the things that happened, obviously, the fumbled the snap on the fake punt. Can't even believe they tried to fake punt in that situation. Tom Brady again. Mishandling the ball himself. I mean, it's just like they're mentally not there, guys. There's something, not all the wires are connected with everybody. There's a disconnect in there somewhere, and I'm not sure what the cause is, but boy, oh boy, I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to cost somebody at the top their job.
Well, and listen, we don't buy much into the Pro Bowl and the Pro Bowl selections anymore. I mean, it's such a convoluted process. The fans get a share of the vote now.
Yeah.
But Bucks only had one Pro Bowler, and that's Wirfs. And if you think about where they've been the last 2 years, their talent level, the number of games they won in the regular season, Roy, I do think yesterday's Pro Bowl selections is just kind of symptomatic of the drop-off they've had.
Yeah, I agree. And, Tristan Wirfs being the guy, it's kind of like a nod to, almost what he did a year ago as opposed to this year. Look, I think he's, held up very well throughout the course of the season. But look, the offensive line has been very weak. He's probably tried to do too much himself. I think he's had a good season. I don't think it's been a Pro Bowl season, but no, you're right. Just the drop off. I mean, Leonard Fournette doesn't make it, nor does he deserve to. Tom Brady doesn't make it, nor does he deserve to. Does anybody in the defensive side of the ball deserve to be there? No. You look through the group and you say, where are the Pro Bowlers? I don't see them. Not this year. I mean, historically, we're talking about some of the better players at their position in the league. Mike Evans, obviously, Julio Jones, but he didn't, give them what they wanted. Tom Brady. But they just haven't played at that high of a level. And look, I think everybody's looking at the Bucs and saying, how in the world are they in first place? And you look at it's, it's the division, it's the schedule. They've been very fortunate, and people are anxious to see, what happens when they face a real football team come playoff time.
Well, Roy, what I'm looking forward to seeing is this weekend them beating a team that's bad, because in order to beat a Cincinnati, which they clearly were unable to do this past weekend, they haven't proven in a while here that they can beat bad football teams. And I mean, they've done it. Yeah, they had a comeback against the Rams. They had a comeback here. But I mean, going out against a team that you're supposedly clearly better than, to me, they need one of these games, and they're going to get lucky because they're going to place a third-string quarterback in this game. It would be nice to see a game in which that first half was an entire game. I don't care who it's against. I don't care if it's against a high school, where we can see 60 minutes of a performance and say, okay, now there's a recipe. Maybe there's some confidence. This schedule the rest of the way is exactly what the Bucs need, Roy.
Yeah, it really is, because it's an opportunity for them, again, to build something going into the playoffs, build some kind of momentum. You thought it was happening last week at the beginning of the game, the first half, and then they get to the second half, and it's a disaster, But even for mediocre teams, job one is always beat the teams that you're better than. So, beating Arizona, it'll be an achievement for these guys because they've turned it into an achievement. But to me, the measure of a good football team is to win games when you're not playing your best football. And we've yet to really see the Bucs do that this year. Again, they've struggled against every opponent that they've faced, and my guess is it's going to continue. Look, believe me, as I said last week, I'm the one who believes that this team is capable of pulling itself out of this morass that it's in. But at the end of the day, guys, when you've got 13 weeks of it here, 14 weeks of it, and you've yet to see it, you got to start believing that this is who they are. And I'm not sure that turnaround is in them this time around. So we'll see, but it's possible. But you're right. They have an opportunity here with what's ahead to build some momentum going into the playoffs. And if they can do that, well, then maybe they can pull off an upset come playoff time. Maybe.
At Arizona, home for Carolina, at Atlanta is the remaining Bucs schedule: a 4, a 5, and a 5-win team. But then again, Tampa is only a 6-win team. He's Roy Cummings, Bay News 9, PewterPirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, R. Cummings, FHCN, R. Cummings, FHCN. What from that first half do you believe is sustainable? Because until they do it, the first half's a fraud. But what from that first half do you truly believe is sustainable for the rest of the year?
Well, I think they showed that offensively they can have a rhythm. And if they get into the right plays, they can execute against a good defense, too. It's in them. It's there. It's just a matter of everybody, remaining, continuing to concentrate. And what I really liked on the other side of the ball was the way the secondary played. I mean, how could you not be impressed with that in that first half? Because the secondary was just everywhere, hitting hard, making plays on the ball, far more aggressive than I think we've seen them at any time. So I think there were a couple of things that you can take away from that. They did run the ball effectively. in the first half. They certainly stopped the run. The aggressiveness by the secondary, I think, was really impressive. That can continue. And I think if they just commit to it, I think they can run the ball and set themselves up for a little bit better play action passing game, because that's what they've got to do. Look, we also saw a little bit more motion out of them. I think they tried a few more things last week that we haven't seen out of these guys. You're not going to be able to roll Brady out, so you got to try something different. And finally, I think they got into some different schemes, some different looks that threw the defense on the other side of the ball off. But again, now that they've done that, well, do they have any more tricks in the bag that they can bring out? They need to bring them out if they've got them.
Resorting to tricks at this point of the season seems like a desperate team, but that's exactly what the Bucs are at this point. When you look at the fake punt, you were up, so we talked a little bit before the break. I had no problem with it because I thought they were the look was there, and it was obviously already set to go. Is that something in your eyes that you just don't think they should ever be thinking about?
Yeah, well, not ever, but not in that situation. Again, inside your own 30-yard line, they'd already given the ball up inside the 31 or 32-yard line twice in that situation, or in that half. It smacks of desperation at a time when you should just be calming things down, play it smart, punt the ball away, play defense, which you've been playing pretty well, and get the ball back and go on the sidelines and talk. Don't try something silly. And clearly, it wasn't communicated. I think it wasn't communicated well at all. And I think Giovanni Bernard, when he finally did speak to the media, was right. It was miscommunication. I don't think everybody on the field knew that was the call. Certainly Giovanni Bernard didn't know that was the call. And if you're going to make that call, you got to darn well make sure everybody knows it, especially in that situation. Again, to me, down and distance, time of the game, there was still an opportunity there. You've seen this team, rally for 14, 17 points, in a snap. They can do it. They didn't need that trick play. The Bucs don't need trick plays. You know what? Focus and concentrate on running the normal plays and getting those right. You don't need trick plays to mess things up even worse.
Roy, my final question is, when did the Bucs become emotionally soft? When did they all of a sudden develop a glass chin? Because Brady, with Gronk and others, brought with them mental toughness. It took a little while that first year, but for the last year and a half, the Bucs were a mentally strong team, and they had a strong chin. Remember, they were down 3 touchdowns to the Rams in the playoff game and didn't wilt at all and nearly won it. And now it looks like if they take one hard punch, they're done.
Guys, we all have a bit of a background in hockey, and in hockey, that the way you win when it matters most is you got to have some, what I call, jam. You got to have that grit. You got to have that grind. You got to be able to stand in front of the net, take a beating, get the rebound, score off of those, dig in the corners, dig behind the net, get the puck out to your best players. In football, you got to have the same thing. And the Bucs lost their jam. They lost Gronkowski. Ryan Jensen's hurt. Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh. These are the guys who bring that jam every day, even to practice, in the locker room. Those are the guys, Brady as well, but I think Brady's, he was checked out a little bit for a good portion of the season. The bottom line is they don't have the guy in there, very few of them, and I think Shaq Barrett was another one, and he's gone now, he's hurt. They don't have those guys who are just like all about, guys, go in there and you fight your butts off and we win this game. You got to have that jam. They lost it. They lost that part of their personality, and it turned them into, a soft football team.
I don't know. Gronkowski's last tweet was, "I'm kind of bored. Maybe he's coming back." I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
They need him.
Yes, they do.
That would be a spark.
Merry Christmas, Roy. Thanks for everything. We'll talk again next week, but enjoy the holiday with your family.
Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas to you and all the listeners.
Roy Cummings, Bay News 9, pewterpirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, R. Cummings, FHCN, R. Cummings, FHCN. Christmas night in the desert, Bucs, Cardinals, and Dolphins playing at 1 o'clock on Christmas, hosting the Packers. So it's a big Christmas Sunday. In-state NFL.
And a big one tonight for the Jags as well as Thursday Night Football, the Jags and the Jets. The Jags getting a lot of hope with Tannehill being done for the season with the ankle, and the Jags trying to take advantage at the Meadowlands tonight. Miller and Moulton. We will do fantasy football in 25 minutes. Get your questions in for Dr. Roto now. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David, do you know
Yeah.
who FSW's PA announcer Ryan Murphy? You know him?
Yes.
Yeah. He's great. But his music is really bad. That was the one problem at the City of Palms. Might hire a DJ because next year's the 50th.
What's that?
I just watched the video of Izzo getting the tea. That's pretty funny.
I'm a big fan of cold, foggy mornings.
It's good to hear.
Hmm.
A big fan of heat.
Warm. Yeah, warm, foggy mornings.
I do like chilly mornings. By chilly, I mean like 50.
Yeah. 50, 60. I like how our antenna is like a fog ruler, essentially.
I can't believe the amount of crap I've got to do the next 2 days. And I mean crap.
All
I
right.
wanted to just play golf. Daughter's got an eye doctor appointment today, way down in Naples. More driving than I'll do in a month. Leisurely drives, David, for me are Bonita Springs now. Anything beyond that's a long trip.
I agree.
Wow.
I'm with you.
Wow.
I don't want to have to go too much past College in Fort Myers, and I'd like to keep it north of Bonita Beach Road if all things are
Yeah.
basically an exit in each direction, David. Too north, because you can't really do much by Alico.
Once you go north of the Caloosahatchee, it's like, okay.
Oh, are you kidding me? Might as well go to Quebec.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you miss any part of the show, like we just been talking to Roy Cummings about the Bucs. Last hour, we talked recruiting with Bud Elliott. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download it. Dr. Roto coming up in 15 minutes time. Start sending us your questions now. We're ready. Text line 21,000 21000. If you never have before, you need to type in a keyword first. It's FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio. And if you're watching us, following us, send it into the Twitch chat room. Staring right at it. I'll write it down. I'll ask the questions from the doctor making his weekly house call in about 15 minutes time. Playoffs. Chance to win money.
Let me ask you a question, David. And I've never even asked you anything about the holidays like this before. Would you prefer one big gift, like your daughter, your mom, your wife, all chipping in to get you one gift, or would you rather have, 3 or 4 gifts, if you know what I'm saying? Open up a few things on presents on Christmas Day, or just have one good gift?
At this stage of my life, one. Yeah, I mean, if I can get one thing out of Christmas that's like useful, like I'll wear or I'll use, that's a win. That's a win. Like, I will say, like, we celebrated my birthday yesterday. 2 days late, but I was out of town working. So we celebrated it yesterday.
The fact that they celebrated, I think, is an accomplishment. The fact with Christmas, I mean, you've talked about this, having a birthday December 19th, and, I was talking with one of the soccer parents who's in the same boat as you, talking about, hey, he was joking, going, well, in my family, I make him take the tree down for one day so we can celebrate my birthday.
And so, yeah, they wanted to celebrate my birthday. I felt like, wow, I ranked this year. That's cool. All right. It's good to know my standing. So, and my daughter gave me a light jacket, and I actually don't really have one. And I'm like, this will work. Okay, I can use this. This is good. It's one you don't need in Southwest Florida, honestly, but you need it when you move to Jacksonville.
We've had light jacket weather this week, David. I don't know what to tell you.
I know you had a day and a half of it, and it's freaked you out. And I've hired a therapist, and you could talk to her next week. But those of us elsewhere, we actually need it for more than a day and a half. And so, I got something already, Mark. It's not even Christmas. And I got something that I can use this holiday season. It's a huge win. 2023 is looking way up.
And Christmas is not even here yet.
No.
You're already in great spirits.
No. So there you have it.
So you even get to spend a Christmas morning at home this year, don't you? I mean, you fly out Christmas Day, right?
I do, in the afternoon early. But yeah, I get all morning. With my grandchild doesn't quite really know who I am. Knows who grandma is, though. Oh, grandma's favorite person in the world. I mean, even mom is jealous of grandma.
Well, that's how this goes.
Yeah. Right. And so, but me, I don't know, kind of still, who's that fat guy? He sits there a lot. Who is that guy? She's still figuring me out.
She'll have a bow or some wrapping paper that she's really going to enjoy this year.
Totally.
There'll be all kinds of presents that she will not be interested in.
Nope.
Want nothing to do with and won't play with any of them that will upset mom and grandma. You and dad will both be laughing because it'll be a bow or a piece of wrapping paper that will enthrall her throughout the day.
Right. And I mean, if I really want to entertain myself, I may just put her in the middle of a cardboard box and just wait an hour and a half until she can get her way out of it. I mean,
what'd you do for Christmas? Well, I trapped a baby. Other than that,
I mean, she was fine and whatever. We could feed her and everything, but no, she's right there. Right.
Well, it as you called it, there's the potted plant stage.
Oh, yeah.
Parenting. You have from 3 months until they start crawling like a banshee when you can just set them there and you can get away with stuff. Got to start dinner. Just set the baby there.
Totally. You just have to prop them up at the right angle. It's the best. Of course, you can't tell your wife that that's how you're parenting when she's not there. How was the baby? Oh, she was fine. I propped her up in the corner. I mean, you can't say that.
No, she was perfect. Everything worked out really well.
Right.
How did you get so much done? She took a little nap.
Right. Mm-hmm. Did I say she was propped up in the corner? We're watching reruns of Barney Miller.
Miller and Moulton, 21,000 is the text line, 21000. Get your fantasy football questions in for Dr. Roto, whether it's DFS, whether it's your playoff run, whatever you may be thinking fantasy football-wise. Dr. Roto to join us in 12 minutes' time to answer all of your fantasy football questions.
I'm not the fantasy guy on the show. We know that. But there's a really good fantasy matchup this week. The problem is if you played this player throughout the season, you're probably not still alive in the playoffs. All right. Did you ever run into that problem?
Yes.
Kamara killed you this year. Killed you. But he's got a really good matchup this week. The problem is if you've been playing him, you're not playing this week. So, that's kind of.
I will say the total on that game is obscenely low. So I don't know how, I know the weather's coming in. The over-under for that game's 32.5, David.
Wow.
32.5. The Browns are a 3-point favorite.
That does seem low. I mean, their run defense is bad. I would think Kamara's got a good matchup here.
18-15, they're telling you the final score of that game's going to be.
Well, Deshaun's supposed to be better than that, but we know what the Saints are now rolling with, so who knows? That's possible. But so send us your questions, Dr. Roto, in less than 10 minutes. We will just fire away, try to win you some money.
All right, do the Jags get it done tonight?
No. And it's not that I don't think they're the better team, because at this point of the season, I do think they're the better team. I think the weather really helps the Jets' cause tonight. A lot. The other thing is, the only other time this year Trevor Lawrence played in bad weather, he turned it over 4 times. Until he proves otherwise, that's not a coincidence. Remember, they had similar weather than this in Philadelphia. They had a 14-0 lead, and then Trevor just decided, I can't hold on to the football, and allowed the Eagles to come all the way back and then some. This is not a game where flash wins, and I think the Jags have a lot more flash than the Jets. This is a substance game. This is a phone booth game in bad weather. And I think that favors the Jets. I hate the short week this time of year also. I do think it makes a difference for the Jags.
Somehow, some way, I think Trevor Lawrence gets it done tonight. And the way I'm picking, this means the Jets will for sure win. But I do think the way he's progressed this year, that he knows that he had a horrible bad weather game earlier in the year against Philadelphia, and he's going to make sure that he doesn't do it again. ETN's got to have a big game, though, if they're going to win. He's got to, obviously can't turn it over, but he's got to be able to run the football.
We're talking about turnovers. He's had his.
I know. He's.
So, listen, I mean, come on. I know the Jags have done some things this year that we didn't think that they would do, and it is the Jets, and we all know the Jets are not a really good team. The Jets overachieved in the first part of the year. They did, much like the Giants. All right? But I don't know if the Jets are going to have to throw the ball. If they are, they're going to lose. That's the thing. The Jags just need to get this game to a point where Zach Wilson has to have the game in his hands. If so, they're going to win. He's not good enough.
Dr. Roto is good enough. He is next. Your fantasy football questions answered coming up on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Barney Miller, I think, is one of the 5 most underrated shows of all time. Absolutely loved Barney Miller.
No way. Clucko, they might bring back Derek Dietrich. Oh, my God. I love that, dude.
If you got any fantasy questions, fire away. Yeah, I know. Klecko, I wasn't going to. He's on a roll. He's sleep deprived. I was just going to cut him some slack.
Dietrich, Fish, Marlins, I mean, come on. With their meetings going on, like, come on.
All right. That was good. That was solid. That was solid.
It was how about this? It was a joke.
It was.
Funny joke.
It was cute. It was cute. It was based, it's sports humor cute.
There we go. Oh my goodness! You guys hear about Ronnie Hillman?
Yeah, we had it.
Yeah, we was in the starting 5.
Oh, it was. Sorry.
Like I said, Felipe, 11-1. Coma. It will be glorious.
So are you going to Orlando? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm going to Miami. You crazy? My family would kill me. My grandma would kill me. Can't miss Noche Buena at Abby and Abel's house. I smoke a cigar with my grandpa.
So where's your young lady from?
She's from Orlando.
Orlando.
She was born in Long Island.
So are you headed to Orlando at all?
Yes. I think second weekend of January.
Have you been to Orlando yet?
Yes, I met her parents already. I met her parents before she met my parents.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is she spending any time at home for the holidays, or are you kidnapping her?
No, she's going this weekend home. I'm going this weekend home, and then
Gotcha. You're meeting up afterwards.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay, good. Then you guys aren't serious.
Well, they're pretty young.
Right. Well, that's
we also both have work. I mean,
right. I'm just saying that's good.
A college student.
Well, she works.
Oh, I figured the only way you could find a girlfriend is if she was 19.
How is that supposed to be?
Wow.
Jeez, why are we throwing shots right now?
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The shots he was giving me earlier. He went into the whole pronunciation thing after falling asleep 4 times in the show. So I'm freewheeling now.
Uh-oh. Trading haymakers here.
There was a contentious couple of breaks.
Call Roto, please.
I want the Eagles to beat the Cowboys by 3 touchdowns Sunday. I want Gardner Minshew to throw for 348 yards. Nothing would make me smile more.
He's good. We're coming back.
Awesome. Thank you. I know Adam Minshew left practice.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes until the top of the hour. roughly 16 minutes with Dr. Roto, one of the last to make a house call. drroto.com, drroto.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto, DRROTO. Weekend mornings, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, the Better Network, 2 nights a week from 10 to midnight. Doc, how are we?
Doing well, guys. Hope you are ready for the holiday season, and hopefully it won't be too cold in Southwest Florida.
Boy, ain't that the truth, Doc? You're right where I'm at.
That's why we live in Southwest Florida.
For this not to happen.
Exactly.
Weekend's gonna be like my fantasy football season, cold.
You're not the only person who has said that, by the way. If you feel like your fantasy season has sucked, just get in line, because some of the best players I know have complained. And here, if it makes you feel any better, sometimes some of the people who I don't think are very good in fantasy have said to me, hey, I've had a great year. So that tells me a lot. It just feels like it's a topsy-turvy season, tons of injuries, tons of underperforming players. So look, you take the good and you take the bad, and you just keep on rolling with it and you keep playing, because that's what we love to do.
Hey, I have got a bunch of questions that are in the same ballpark, so I'll start with that. Gardner Minshew's playing for the Eagles. What does that mean for Devontae Smith, for A.J. Brown? Just how do you navigate the Eagles this week?
So if you ask me to list the top 5 backups in the league, I would tell you that Gardner Minshew III is one of the top 5. I would tell you I could argue that he probably could start for a team or two. You don't think he could start for the Texans? I think he could. So there's bad backups and there's good backups. I think Minshew should be fine. I have him down for about 18 fantasy points this weekend. So maybe we're looking at 240 yards and a touchdown, and maybe a couple of rushing yards on top of that. The guy doesn't suck. I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to play inspired football. I'm not sure the Eagles care as much this week. I mean, obviously they care. But look, is it a downgrade for A.J. Brown? Yes. Is it a downgrade for Devonta Smith? It's a downgrade for all the Eagles, but I don't think it's, a bottoming out. It's just a downgrade.
Well, what do you do, though, if Jalen Hurts has been your guy? Do you just plug in Minshew, or Brizib in our Twitch chat room is like, listen, I got Hurts, but do I, instead of going Minshew, do I go Trevor Lawrence, or do I go Brock Purdy this week instead?
Well, look, you can't go wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He's been pretty darn good. I don't love the matchup, but my favorite quarterback, who's probably on the waiver wire, and I know this is going to be disgusting for a lot of people, is actually Daniel Jones playing Minnesota. Minnesota's defense has been horrible. Don't tell me they had a good second half. Matt Ryan had PTSD there. I think he saw a ghost of Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Couldn't throw the ball more than 3 yards in the second half, unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Minnesota's been the most generous defense in the league. So I think you can actually win with Daniel Jones this week. So my 2 guys would be Minshew if you want to stay with him, and I'm fine with that. But if you want to pivot, I think you can win with Daniel Jones.
All right, for running back, Kenny Walker, ETN, or Miles Sanders?
Well, so look, this is a week that Miles Sanders should perform. Dallas's run defense has not been good, and you would have to think that they're going to rely on him more than ever. So I think that's a viable play. I mean, I like ETN. I just have a feeling like this is going to be a slightly lower scoring game. I mean, Vegas hates this game, and I don't think it's a hateable game. I think it's a really interesting game. I'm just not sure that there's a lot of points in this game. And who was the third guy?
Let's see. Sorry. Miles Sanders, ETN, or Kenny Walker?
Kenny Walker, I do like, but where's the points been? I mean, the guy has not scored a ton of fantasy points recently, so I'm not going to tell you that you can't play him. I'm going to tell you that you're very touchdown dependent if you play him. So I think for my money, I'm going to go with Miles Sanders.
Mr. Butte has a question involving Kenny Walker. Walker, Swift, or is there a Dolphins running back you like this week because of the matchup?
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with the Dolphins is, who is that guy? If you're telling me it's Mostert, I'm all in. If you're telling me it's Wilson, I'm all in. But if you're telling me it's Wilson and Mostert, then it's rough, right? Because now we don't really know what to expect. But look, I do like Mostert a lot. I think right now we've got to lean toward him. Is he better than Miles Sanders? I think he's very similar to Miles Sanders. But I've been using the words this year, touchdown equity. So what does that mean? It means I think the guy's going to score a touchdown. I got to think that the Dolphins are going to score a rushing touchdown against the Packers, and it very well could be Mostert.
I have a DJ Chark or Palmer question, and I have a DJ Chark or Goodwin question. I'll throw them both at you simultaneously.
Right. So I think it's really, really hard to trust DJ Chark this week. The Panthers are pretty tough defense. John Williams almost caught a touchdown last week, guys. I don't know if you saw that. Goff underthrew him, but he was open by about 2 yards. So I'm not loving Chark. I do like Goodwin, though. I mean, there's going to be no Tyler Lockett this week. They're playing the Chiefs. You know the Chiefs are going to score. Doesn't that mean that Geno's going to have to throw the ball? So who is he throwing it to? He's throwing it to DK Metcalf and Marquise Goodwin.
Speaking of Chark, Johnny has a flex issue this week, and Chark is one of his 3 options along with Lazard or Akers.
So Cam Akers is really frustrating, right? Because the guy didn't want to play, then he wanted to leave, then he wanted to come back. He got a lot of touches last week.
Well, he's all they have.
Right. Well, you thought that Kyron Williams would get a shot, right? Everybody, and they're, oh, the Rams love Kyron Williams. Well, they don't love him that much because if they love him, they play him, right? So all of a sudden, Cam Akers has 17 lives, and the dude is running again. So, when in doubt, go with the touches. Cam Akers should get 20 touches this week. I mean, the game could be horrific to watch, but what if I told you he gets 20 touches for 70 yards and finds the end zone?
Thought this question was interesting. I never entered my brain before with the Pro Bowl guys being named yesterday. Anything about snubs? I would think especially for DFS, but anything about guys being snubbed the week after the Pro Bowl? Is there anything there at all?
I mean, maybe it's just not something that I'm locked into yet. But I mean, there's always that one guy who's pissed off, right? So, but the Pro Bowl, it's tougher because you got defense, you got offense, you got special teams guys. I mean, nothing that caught my attention, but hey, be on Twitter. There's probably 27 people tweeting about it and starting a narrative about it.
Still have time to get a question in, whether it be on our text line at 21,000 or in the Twitch chat room, Dr. Roto, DRROTO, drroto.com. Canada Relief in our Twitch chat room wants to know, do you think Royce Freeman, the running back for the Texans, is a good value?
Yeah. I mean, not a great value, of course, but here's the biggest problem. They're playing the Titans, who literally have the best run defense in the league. So, is Freeman going to play? Yes. Is he probably the starting running back on that team? Yes. What does that mean? 42 yards, and you're hoping he catches a pass. I mean, they shut down Eckler. They've shut down everybody. So the only running backs who find success against the Titans are those who catch the ball. So, I mean, you're playing Freeman out of desperation.
Terry McLaurin or Christian Kirk?
So the Jets' one weakness is at slot corner. Michael Carter II is not very good. So this would be more of a Kirk week than it would be a Zay Jones week. And by the way, Zay Jones is phenomenal. But that being said, I mean, don't we have to look at McLaurin? I mean, I think they're very similar. I think at the end of the day, we're both looking about 13 to 15 points. So the question is, who has more explosion here? I think the more explosive guy is actually McLaurin, because the only way the Commanders are winning this game, because you cannot run against San Francisco, is to throw.
What's your favorite stack this week?
Oh, I have two. I mean, I'll call them under the radar stacks. I like the Giants. I do. I mean, starting Daniel Jones, maybe a little Richie James in there. Like, who's Richie James? He's going to be the guy that might win you a lot of money this week. I think because, they're going to throw. And I do like the Seattle Seahawks. Geno, Metcalf, Goodwin, and then bring it back with Travis Kelce, because the Seattle Seahawks are really bad against opposing tight ends. I think they're the Cardinals are the worst and the Seahawks are second or something like that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Who should I play at flex? Devontae Smith, Pittman Jr., McKinnon, or Pacheco?
So let's just get rid of the whole Pacheco-McKinnon argument. And I think McKinnon is just clearly better. And he gets in, the red zone, and he's better. And it's not that I dislike Pacheco. I think between the 20s, he's fine. He's not better than McKinnon. Right now, McKinnon is, fantasy value's got to be shooting through the roof. And don't you think that they're going to score close to 30 points? I thought they didn't even play well last week. I thought they played poorly against the Texans. So coming at home, man, how do you say no to McKinnon? I mean, Devonta Smith, I like. Who was the second guy before you gave me the Chiefs guys?
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry
I sometimes switch. Pittman or Devontae Smith?
Yeah, I mean, do I like Pittman? I do. I mean, Pittman's fine. Do I like Nick Foles? I don't trust Nick Foles as much as I trust Patrick Mahomes. So, Jerick McKinnon, I'm going to give you 3 guys, right? If you drafted them in fantasy this year, you're probably winning your league. If you took Jalen Hurts in round 7 and you took Zay Jones in round 14 and you took McKinnon in 19, are you not winning your league right now?
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a fantasy monster, right?
Yeah, and Zay Jones has been too. Crazy, but it has been.
Adam has a question at running back. James Cook or Joe Mixon?
So, look, one guy we know what he's going to do, and one guy we hope he does what we want him to do. Joe Mixon is, more of a guarantee there. And look, who is New England going to stop? Are they going to try to stop Jamar Chase? They're going to try to stop Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon could have 13 to 15 points. I love James Cook, but the Bills don't seem to. Why don't they give this guy the football? Now, maybe this is the week they do that, but here we are in probably your semifinals. Do you want to take a shot on that? I don't think you do. I think you play Joe Mixon.
Kirk or Etienne as a flex?
I mean, there was a funny bit yesterday on the radio where it just seems like Etienne never gets more than 3 catches. It's like he gets to 3 and they refuse to throw him the football. I don't know why that is, but I know Etienne's looked pretty darn good this year. And so I'm going to lean toward his direction just because the opportunities are there. And I think because, you can't throw that well against the Jets, you can run on them a little bit. So maybe they will throw to Etienne. If you can get 5 or 6 catches, you're already halfway there to what you need.
Larry needs a second quarterback, and he wants to know Baker, Sam Darnold, or Minshew.
Really? You want to play Baker? You want to play Sam Darnold?
It's a Minshew. I mean, it's a Gardner Minshew answer.
Yeah. I mean, look, take the stash, baby. Come on. That's going to be a high-scoring game.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to be a physician's assistant there, Doc, but I thought that was easy enough. Even I could answer that one.
Yeah, take the stash. I mean, come on.
I'm also going to throw this out there if you believe in this sort of thing. Minshew says he owes his career to Mike Leach. Yeah. Minshew left Eagles practice Tuesday. He did not practice. Now, he is thought of as, I'm going to start this week. He wasn't with the Eagles Tuesday because he was a speaker at Leach's funeral. I got to believe we have in Texas, we have a really motivated Gardner Minshew Sunday.
Yeah, it's a big narrative. I love the narrative. That is one I'm buying into this week, hook, line, and sinker. And you know what? If I'm the Eagles, I'm letting him go because you know what? The guy would have left anyway, right? He would have said, find me, whatever. But when that guy's, Mike Leach was a mentor to many. Was he kooky? Yeah, but kooky in a good way. And he revolutionized the modern game, honestly. I mean, the air raid offense, how many teams run that now? Every third team runs it. So, we'll miss him. And, I'm glad that Minshew did that.
One final question, Doc. Wide receiver 2, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, George Pickens.
I think I'm going to go with Mike Williams. Remember we talked about when Mike Williams plays well, the Chargers play well. I think the Chargers have not played well offensively. They played well defensively recently, which has been kind of shocking. But I think this feels like a Mike Williams rebound week. We didn't see it last week. I think we see a touchdown this week. I know the Colts defense has been decent at points, but man, have you seen the Colts in the fourth quarter the last couple of weeks? Like, dude, Jeff Saturday, get with the program. There's 4 quarters in a game.
You'll have to wait till Monday, but yes, you could get plenty from Mike Williams. Doc, to you and your family, Merry Christmas, all the best, and hope that you are alive and well in many leagues next week going for championship.
I appreciate it, guys. I'm married and happy to both of you guys. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Doc.
Dr. Roto, drroto.com. Follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto, DRROTO.
Well, there you have it. We've taken care of every one of your fantasy picks, which I have to ask. You're asking the doc for advice and you're in the playoffs. Unless you've been doing it every week and getting it, don't go desperate now. Every once in a while, you got to trust your gut. Yeah. You got to the playoffs, not the doctor.
Yeah.
You're only supposed to see the doctor when you're sick.
Yeah. Preach, Mark.
That's why I have him on my speed dial. For those of you in Port Charlotte, Lake City, St. Pete, Tampa, we thank you so much for listening. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The bonus hour is next. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That's just gross. Do you see those numbers I just posted there, Derek?
yeah.
Holy Toledo.
And the last game was with Malik Willis as the starting quarterback. So they knew that's all Tennessee had.
Right.
And he still beat them.
Don't you almost have to put them on your daily fantasy team?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like they have anything else on offense.
Well, I know, but I mean, you're going to pay a bundle for it.
Well,
let's see what he costs.
I mean,
you would. I actually think, David, believe it or not, I think you would enjoy DraftKings far more than you would enjoy doing a fantasy season.
Okay.
Because it's just week to week. It's just matchups, and you have a salary cap. It's very GM-ish.
Oh, cool. I would.
So, for instance, what is it?
Fun.
You have $50,000 to pick a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, a defense, and then you get a flex player.
Well, I'd go Minshew and Derrick Henry and see how much I had left.
Well, I think for sure I'm playing Minshew. Derrick Henry's 8,600. He's the second highest costing running back.
How much money do I have?
50,000. Means you got to find cheap receivers.
Okay. Well, the one that Roto mentioned from the Giants, because he's become Daniel Jones's favorite target.
Well, Minshew is cheap. Where is Gardner Minshew? I got to just go by the game. Let's start there. I'm going to let David pick my lineup this week.
Richie James.
Oh, you know what? It's not in this tournament because they play tonight. You can't, or they play Sunday, don't they? No, it's late. There it is. There it is. Sorry, I missed. Oh, he's 4,800.
How much is Daniel Jones?
A lot more. Probably a couple thousand more.
Oh.
Who was the running back, or what game? The Giants game, right?
Yeah, against the Vikings. So you go Richie James, a wide receiver. So what, we have 18,000 for Henry?
8,000.
8,000. We got 4,800 for Minshew, so we're at like 13,000.
Who am I taking for the Giants?
James, I thought. Richie James. Isn't that the receiver?
There he is. Wow, that's 3,900. So you still got 5,000 a player. That's pretty good.
You know, so we just have Derrick Henry, Gardner Minshew, and Richie James, and we've spent like $17,000.
I just threw in just to see what it was. I just threw in to see because Kelsey's expensive. Who's playing quarterback for Baltimore?
The guy who played last week.
Huntley?
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe Lamar practiced yesterday.
No, I'm just saying you can get the Atlanta defense cheap.
That's not a bad play.
Or Baltimore's defense cheap.
Ooh, KJ Osborne.
Yeah, I like that. I like that play.
Here you go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on this 22nd day of December. Happy Hanukkah. Getting ready for Christmas, huh? I know a lot of you traveling tonight, tomorrow, or you got people coming in as well. So gearing up for the big fella and his arrival over the weekend. Unfortunately, he's bringing the cold with him.
Yeah, what's up with that, Santa?
I know. And especially all the way to Southwest Florida. I mean, it's one thing for him to bring it, to the I-10 corridor. And then it's another thing to bring it all the way down to I-4. But what the heck? Bring it down to the alley? Please.
Not to mention we have a bomb cyclone, going across the country right now.
I know.
Did the rest of the country, let me explain, I want to just take a moment to explain something to the rest of the country. Just quickly, if I might, David.
Okay.
We understand that down in Florida, we have these things called hurricanes, and they suck.
Right.
We're still dealing with Ian.
Will for years.
If you're down here as a snow, exactly, we will be for years. Did the rest of the world think they had to have names for all their storms too? It can't just be a big snowstorm. It's a bomb cyclone.
Storm envy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think the rest of the country is storm envy. And look, you don't need it. We'll trade. It's the one bad thing that comes with the weather down here. We have these terrible things called hurricanes. We hadn't had a rotten one in a long time, and we had one.
Have to admit, when I spent those 5 years in Fargo in the mid to late 90s, I mean, we had hellacious weather. Never heard anything about a bomb cyclone. It was just winter. What do you got going on? It's Wednesday. When's the last time you saw zero? About 2 weeks ago. What's the forecast? It's kind of like San Diego in reverse, if you know what I mean.
And we may actually have to bring a guest on in the bonus hour at some point. And I know who it is because he listens to the show. He's a weatherman and been doing it for a long time, but he's not in this market anymore, to explain why we have winter storm envy, when these storms started taking names, because he's been doing it long enough to know.
Well, I'd like to know. I really would. So it's a dadgum good point, Mark.
That's all.
The dadgum good point.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what the hell any of that means. A bomb storm envy?
No, a bomb cyclone.
Oh,
that is what
cyclone?
the name of this winter storm that is going across the country. It is why temperatures are going to dip into the 30s in the next couple of days here in Florida. You are aware of that, Felipe?
No. Thanks for breaking the news. Sorry.
All right, a little behind the curtain. So I have a big head. All right.
I didn't know that was behind the curtain.
Well, there's a lot of people that haven't seen. Remember, Mark, I haven't done local television in 18, 19 years, number one. Number two, I was in the witness protection program. I was on ABC7. And not the ABC7 currently. I mean,
no. That's a monster.
No, Jeff Butera and Krista Fogelsong, one who's left, the other who is leaving. I mean, they've built that into, that's a real deal. When I was there, whatever. I mean, just, he does the daily schedules for NBC2. We'll give him a job on ABC7, whatever. Let him say whatever he wants. Just don't get us sued. Okay. So anyway, my daughter, unfortunately, got my head. And so she got nicknamed Fathead when she was in high school. So the folks at South Fort Myers High nicknamed her. And so I became Father Fathead. Right. And I mean, it was very embarrassing. Right. My daughter was a cheerleader. And so she must have said, because I wasn't at many of her games. They were on Friday nights. I got the SEC on Saturdays. I had to travel Friday afternoons or right after our show. Mark, how many times did I race right to the airport? So I was at one of her football games. And so she must have said to her friends, hey, my dad's here. And so they all gathered around and they were like, hey, point him out. And she turned around and said, no, you look in the stands and you tell me which one's my dad. And so for 20 seconds, they're all staring at everybody's head. And at the same time, like 9 of them point. And they pointed right at me, Father Fathead. So I noticed that as a teenager, she didn't pay attention to, routine things in life. And then when she went to college, I thought, I'm guessing she's paying even less attention. Boys, alcohol, the occasional studies. So I would send out Father Fathead weather updates, share with your friends. And I would text her 2-3 days in advance and let her know, hey, just so you know, it's going to be, raining, cats and dogs, and on Friday and this, that, and the other thing, be prepared. And so I sent out 2 days ago, and that's why Felipe, he's of the age where he's not watching the local news. He's not paying attention to the weather. He's been at the City of Palms tournament for 7 straight days. He's got this morning show. He's got a girlfriend. You think he's paid attention to the weather? He thinks it's going to be 75, 80 because that's what it is. And that's why when you said,
I'm 53 and I'm not that far removed from what you're saying.
And that's why when you looked at Felipe and said, yeah, it's a bomb cyclone. And Felipe's like, what Iowa State's playing this week?
What does State have to do with this and who are they playing?
Yeah. What's going on? So Felipe, if you want, I will include you in the Father Fathead weather updates going forward if you'd like.
I accept. That sounds lovely.
There you go. So had to send one out a couple days ago and say, hey, just so you know, Christmas Eve and Christmas this year is Christmas Eve and Christmas. Okay? And Mark, you've got highs in the low 50s, lows in the high 30s. In Jacksonville, we got lows at low to mid 20s, highs of 40.
That's on you, big fella.
I
It's
know.
on you, Father Fathead.
All right. Well, this move wasn't my idea. All right. I'm just the one that had to execute it and pay for it.
And Logic Man in the Twitch chat room says you have a marketing opportunity, and I am an old guy who does TikTok. I see fun weather things. I think if you just went with Father Fathead and took 60-second videos outside doing the weather, you may have something. You may be able to build a TikTok following.
Can we copyright that or something so I could at least make the $8.30 that I'm going to make off this? That would be nice. Mark, you and I are always looking for that alternate income.
Tell me about it.
Maybe that's what we do going forward. Okay. Maybe the picks. Okay. Yours, you got to come up with your own thing. It's Miller time. That's my first recommendation. But, mine would be Father Fathead.
If that's the case, I'm going to have to start picking some games that win.
I understand. Well, we're not charging a lot of money. I mean, I don't think people are expecting winners for what it is that we're charging. I have to admit, I just got a text from my daughter. Okay, I was concerned she was listening there for a second. Oh, good. Whoo. Man, that was scary.
This happened 2 days ago. Yesterday, I got a call from the school.
I know.
At 9:00, and it ended up being just nothing. But I don't answer the phone between 6 and 10. I don't even really, I'll check text during breaks. But phone calls, never. But it was the elementary school. That freaks a parent out. You getting a text from your daughter, I could tell on your face something wasn't right. And it was a text. I thought she was just taking a shot at Father Fathead.
Paul in our Twitch chat room says, I can't go with that. That's considered bullying today. First off, if I don't think it's bullying, it's not bullying. I'm Father Fathead. It cannot be bullying if I'm okay with the name, if I'm signing off on it. If I start to use it as part of marketing, I'm okay with it.
Felipe, I'm a little scared to ask you this question. And David, you may know it, but you did something we've not talked about since the starting five. You put up that Basketball Hall of Fame class that's coming.
Yeah.
How many are allowed in per year? Is there a number with the Basketball Hall, or is it unlimited to the number of people who can get in the hall each? Because your football has a number.
I looked it up this morning. I couldn't find the answer. Felipe, I don't know if you know or you can research it.
I'll do so. I don't know.
Actually. Okay. And I hate doing that to the both of you because I would rather have known the answer. And I couldn't find it either, David. In the articles, it didn't have it, and I made a quick search. I couldn't find it. So
and the reason Mark brings that up is that, in case you didn't see, the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I mean, listen to this list.
And these are all first-time nominees.
Do them slowly, and let's play our little game. Yes or no, are they Hall of Famers? And
Greg
are they
Popovich?
Yes.
Of course.
One of the best coaches in NBA history.
And first-time Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Famer, by the way, too, in my estimation.
Dirk Nowitzki.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Of course.
Unstoppable scorer.
Dwayne Wade.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Third best shooting guard of all time.
Top five. Tony Parker.
He's a Hall of Famer.
One of the best European players.
Or an international player and what he's done to the. I mean, I think I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know there should be a difference because I don't know who else is on this list that didn't get in last year, if you know what I mean.
4-time NBA champion and a finals MVP.
And also was the third part of San Antonio's big three. And so since Popovich is going in, do you then also, it would be almost rude to not then go with Parker also. Now, Felipe and I would probably get into a verbal war over this. Pau Gasol.
Well, I that doesn't sound to we always do this by names. And then we do it with football, Felipe. When I hear that name, I don't think Hall of Famer. This would be one that would have to be sold on me.
We've talked about this before when we were talking about the all-time greatest Lakers big men.
Right. Like they're retiring his number.
Which is absurd.
Yeah. Miller and Moulton think that that's an absolute sham.
Disagree. He was a back-to-back NBA champion.
Yeah, but no offense. So was Bill Cartwright. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry. He was a back-to-back NBA champion because Kobe Bryant was on the team. All right. He was a very good player.
Bill Cartwright,
all-star player. But this is Hall of Fame. Now, don't get me wrong, Felipe. Miller and Moulton both know he's going to get in. I don't know if he gets in 2023, but he's going to get in. But we would not vote for him.
Bill Cartwright wasn't the Scottie Pippen of that team. Pau Gasol was the Scottie Pippen of back-to-back NBA championship teams.
And that's valid. And that's very valid. And so does the second best player, all right,
in that sport,
and an all-star player, okay, does that equal Hall of Fame?
I don't know. You tell me.
It doesn't to me.
Doesn't to us, okay, but to you it does. And we think, by the way, you're going to end up right, that he's going to get in. But we would not put him in with this class. Also, Canes coach Jim Larinaga, by the way, a nominee.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on 5th Avenue in Naples. Paper City. I'm not saying that he is Scottie Pippen. I'm saying he was the Robin of that team.
That's exactly what he said.
Kobe was Batman. That was Robin.
13 people got in last year's Basketball Hall of Fame class. Now, there were 4 coaches. There was a referee.
Right.
There was an international player. There were also 2 women players. Okay, so, you know, they got a lot of categories.
Yeah, they always throw in a few WNBA players as well, or just women basketball players.
But like last year, for example, there were 2 NBA players that got in. And I know it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, so college counts and all that. But Manu Ginobili and Tim Hardaway were the players last year. Now, this might be sacrilege to say. Tim Hardaway, to me, is a very borderline Hall of Fame case.
I agree. I'm not even kidding. I agree. Like, Heat legend. But
well, the thing, though, is, Felipe, you don't realize he was part of Run TMC in Golden State with Don Nelson in the early to mid-'90s also. And they were spectacular. I mean, they couldn't get past the second round of the playoffs because of who they had to go through.
But Paul Robin gets in the Hall of Fame in the NBA. That's the difference.
But to me, that's no different. Like Run TMC, that's no different than like the Lob City teams of the Clippers. Great, exciting, high-powered offense team that could not get past the second round.
Yeah, I will say Run TMC's competition was a little tougher, I would argue. But I will say,
we won't get into.
I'll say this: if Hardaway didn't blow out his knee, I think he's would have been no doubt about it Hall of Famer.
I say that that's like the equivalent of saying Blake Griffin will make the Hall of Fame one day.
Well, do you think Dwight Howard will?
Oh, yeah.
I do too, but
like no doubt.
Well,
3-time Defensive Player of the Year.
I understand. I put it this way: $20. You think he goes in first time eligible?
No,
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. He'll get. You're right. He's a Hall of Famer, and he will get in, and he should. But I don't think
he will make it first time.
Okay.
You got to. The other thing, you got to look at who's at that time. Just what I'm anticipating. Seeing this class and seeing the level of the stardom in basketball is pretty big right now. So as guys retire, we're going to see this more and more, these classes. And it's going to be like the NFL where there's going to be a backlog. They can put more guys in, but they typically don't. Voters don't put, that's just, they're arrogant when it comes to their Hall of Fame voting. So I don't think he's a first ballot guy, but I could be wrong.
He was really freaking good. And he came out of high school, so he's, I guess, one of those stories.
Yep, that has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame.
I mean, he had a long career. Right now, he's playing like Bill Russell in Taiwan or whatever. Udonis Haslem.
Now, okay. Like next year's Hall of Fame, Kate, in 2024, you have to be retired 4 years.
DC, no. Lamar Odom was not the Robin of those teams. It was Pau Gasol. The Kobe Pau pick and roll was like a thing, like a vital part of their offense. Plus, Kobe. Pau was out here averaging double-doubles every year.
Oh, Paul, don't get me going about Bob Kuchenberg. That one bothers me.
10 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Right before the break, we were talking about the Basketball Hall of Fame finalists list and the Rolls-Royce list of first-time nominees this year. Greg Popovich, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade, Tony Parker, Pau Gasol. And Mark, I don't know, Jim Larinaga, Canes head coach, by the way, also a finalist, 700 career wins and counting. Canes with a nice upset earlier this week against Virginia, and they're ranked. And he took them to the Elite Eight last year. We all know the George Mason run, and I mean, he's a damn good coach. Hall of Famer? Don't know. Usually once you make it this far, though, you get pushed over the line at some point. But, Bob Huggins finally got in last year. But, Mark, we talk about this all the time with football, and we don't pay as close attention in basketball because it just doesn't interest us as much. But there are times in which we know, man, they're going to make a strong push for this guy this year because beginning next year, look at the backlog. And then the year after. Well, next year for basketball, just for those that are first-time eligible, it's not a Hall of Fame list. I mean, in fact, stop me when you think I've mentioned a Hall of Famer, period. Hakeem Noah, Tyson Chandler, Jamal Crawford, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, Corey Brewer, Damari Carroll. These are not Hall of Famers.
No.
If there's a
these aren't even Ring of Honor guys.
If there's a role
I
player,
mean, really
Hall
and
of
truly,
Fame,
that's not.
Yeah,
there's not a
right.
Ring of Honor guy for his own team there that you mentioned.
Yeah, no.
Right. I mean, if Noah had played a little longer in Chicago, but no, I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's a
Jamal
tough ring.
Crawford had a glorious career. He played with like 7 teams and played for a really long time, but Hall of Famer? No.
I mean, one of the great 6 men in NBA history.
Yes, absolutely. But not John Havlicek.
Right. Not a Ginobili.
Exactly. So, I mean, Mark, you could make the case that of all of those that are going to be first-time eligible next year, they might as well be hollow names. So do they hold a Pau Gasol back this year?
So they have someone next year.
They need a headliner, quite frankly. It doesn't look like they got one coming. Is there somebody, I mean, Felipe, this is probably more your road than ours. I mean, is there somebody who's eligible for the Hall of Fame, which is 4 years retired, who's not in the Hall of Fame, that the basketball community is pounding the table going, what the heck is going on?
I mean, outside of the list that you named, off the top of my head, I really can't think of anyone.
Right.
Tyson Chandler won one Defensive Player of the Year, but that's
right.
No, but there's no, not like that. You have football players who never made it. And we went through this backlog. They didn't even get in that huge anniversary team that still people think are Hall of Famers that aren't in.
Right. It bothers me to this day. Ken Riley's not in the Hall of Fame. Bob Kuchenberg not in the Hall of Fame. They both had passed. Okay. It's ridiculous they didn't get into the Hall of Fame while they wrote. Tommy Nobis is not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
Nope.
I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. But, and baseball, we can go through. I mean, the fact Curt Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame is just ridiculous. So we've got baseball players off the tip of our tongue, football players off the tip of our tongue. Basketball doesn't seem to have it. Hockey, for the most part, figures it out. For the most part. I mean, they took forever, I think, to put Fred Shiro in as coach, but they haven't had a ton in which the whole sport has looked at him going, what the hell's your problem?
College football has a problem.
Oh.
Because they have some rules with theirs. Like Mike Leach, based on their rules, will never be a Hall of Fame coach. And think about that. Think about what Roto just said, because everything Roto said at the end of our fantasy football segment was true. Mike Leach's innovations of the game will be remembered forever. What he gave to football is Hall of Fame worthy without him coaching. And yet, because he only won 69.5% of his games and not 70%, he's ineligible for the Hall.
R.C. Slocum is in, Mike Leach won't be. If somebody can name me the big game R.C. Slocum won, I'd really like to know. He was a good coach. He was a very good coach. But he went right into the Hall of Fame. It must be connected. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, Mike. But here's the thing about Leach that I don't understand, because the example you gave is true. If they round Mike Leach up, he's eligible to be voted on for the Hall of Fame. Well, then round him up. No, seriously.
Then just change the damn rules, to be brutally honest.
Well, if I think it's 60%, and he's what, 59.6?
59, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, he is literally round up worthy of going in.
Well, if you put his winning percentage on the board, who would look at it and say 59%?
Nobody.
Right. So if it's
my third grade daughter's doing rounding right now, she knows better.
Yeah. I mean, you round up. So
the only NBA name I can think of maybe is Sam Cassell is in a Hall of Famer. I mean, is Chauncey Billups a Hall of Famer?
Chauncey Billups is close.
Chauncey is close, actually.
Chauncey is close. First third of his career, no. And then, damn.
Mr. Big Shot.
But, so, anyway.
And I can get Moulton excited at any time, any point when I bring up a Hall of Fame.
You got it. I don't know why it is, but I just think immortality to me is important. It's important to get it right. And I do think it's important to get it while they're still alive also. Like, I totally believed when Skip Carey said about his dad, hey, if you're going to put him in, you better put him in while he's here, because otherwise it won't mean a thing.
Miller and Moulton. Miss any of the show, you can download it at floridasportsnetwork.com or any of the usual places where you find your podcasts. Had a pretty nice show again today. Bud Elliott joined us in the 7 o'clock hour. We got deep into recruiting. And by all accounts, Bud thought all of the Florida teams did well.
Yeah.
Thought USF and FAU got off to a good start. Thought UCF did pretty well and thinks they'll continue to do well in the portal. Florida State did very well in the portal, missed a few guys. Florida missed a few guys, but all in all, had a nice class in Miami, got it done for the most part.
He did make a good point also in which he said, if you take Texas and Oklahoma out of the Big 12, take a look at the recruiting rankings of the remaining members. And that UCF coming in at around 50, well, that's pretty good in the Big 12, which also going forward lets you know what the talent level of that conference is really going to be. But as we pointed out, how many championships has Texas won lately in the Big 12? And Oklahoma just won 6-6 with all of those recruiting classes that they had. Of course, when their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback transfers, that's a problem. Which is why, and we've made the point over the last 2 days, that we think you need to look at college football now as an off season. It's not just the recruiting. It's who you lose in the portal, who you gain in the portal, put it all together. How did we do?
And that's where David and I talked about earlier in the show, do they have to do something with signing day? We wanted a signing day moved up. David's advocating moving it up even earlier to August. Bud Elliott thought, if anything, it needs to go back to its original day in February. But the big-time coaches aren't going to make that change. So we're stuck with this system for the foreseeable future.
If I were the big-time coaches, I'd want it moved up to August. Your guys commit early. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. And you know the drill. It's all next.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I was with Jim Larinaga last night. I love that.
What did you guys talk about?
Virginia, big win, and how he's here to see some players.
Can't tell you that.
One kid from Hall to 6. Jim Larnago's tall. I was standing next to him, and I'm like, damn.
See, I had The Graduate coming out today on mine, for the record.
Tree Rollins? I don't think Tree Rollins is a Hall of Famer.
No,
He's not.
Yeah,
Not
no
even
way.
close.
No way.
He's not in the Atlanta Hawks Ring of Honor. Klecko right now is just trying to remember every basketball player he can and asking if they're in the Hall of Fame. That's what's been going on for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
He started with all his favorite Pistons, and now he's trying to remember all the players Pistons played against.
Right. He's just having a stream of consciousness here.
Oh my God, Klecko. Yeah. Vince Carter. Wait, you said 4 years, right?
Yeah, he's not retired 4 years.
Okay. 2024, Vince Carter will make the Hall of Fame. I think he'll make it first ballot.
Absolutely.
I don't believe he's eligible.
He retired in 2020.
Then 4 full years.
He said in 2024, I think he'll be a first.
No, he'll go in 25.
25? Okay.
Oh,
gotcha. Because you have to be retired for 4, 21, 2, 3, and 4, and then you go in 25.
Gotcha.
Because the list I was talking about, Felipe, was the 2024 list, the Kyle Korver list.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Gotcha. Kyle Korver, great shooter, not a Hall of Famer.
Klecko's running out of players.
Yeah, that's oof.
Yeah, Canada. Vince Carter brought basketball.
Felipe, did you watch the 3 30 for 30s on the Lakers and the Celtics?
I don't believe so. There's been so many different documentaries about the Lakers and the Celtics. I get them.
It's a 30 for 30. It's a 3-parter. And it's about 4 hours. You would enjoy it.
All right. We got 2 minutes here.
Google and the NFL made it official. So I was going to.
Okay. No, I was just wanting. You guys are all just typing in NBA players. I wanted to see what the rest of this lineup that Adam had in for us. There you are. Okay. I do think if we got to put AJ Brown in the lineup. If we're going Minshew, you got to go Smith or Brown.
Yeah, it's funny. I might go Smith.
All right, Smith's cheaper. That's fine. You're picking this lineup. Because it's only the Saturday games. You liked Kamara a lot.
I did, although the weather's bad. He wouldn't be my first choice, though.
All right.
Just because he's disappointed all year.
30 seconds. Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour, 17 minutes until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. So the NFL and YouTube made it official in the last 30 minutes. Can I read this to you and you translate it if it needs translation? The NFL would only say it's a multi-year agreement. It's with YouTube TV and YouTube primetime channels, the right to exclusively distribute NFL Sunday Ticket to consumers in the U.S. starting next year. So starting next year, NFL Sunday Ticket will be available on 2 of YouTube's growing subscription businesses as an add-on package on YouTube TV and a standalone a la carte on the YouTube primetime channels.
I'm not even aware of what a YouTube primetime channel is. I know YouTube TV.
I guess like
So you don't know.
the accounts on YouTube are known as channels, so maybe something having to do with that.
Okay. But we were talking with Seth yesterday about how exclusive this was going to be. Right?
Well, but what Seth was about is there anything in there about the red zone? Because that's the one part of this. And I don't think the red zone gets put up because Comcast runs the red zone and they're not going to give that exclusively to YouTube. So YouTube premiums it's just a subscription based that you have that has movie channels. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything mentioned in here about red zone.
So I don't think red zone will change then per se. And I didn't think it would either. I thought Seth was not out of bounds, but I mean, red zone's always been available on cable and it was different than what you got on DirecTV. So I didn't see that changing, not to mention that they'll like that NFL Plus subscription that they're trying so desperately to grow.
And I will say we've had a few people over the last few weeks who have said that they've subscribed to it and they really like it. Like, we didn't think there was a ton of value there. Those that have subscribed to it, almost every single one, at least Mark, that I see feedback from in the Twitch chat room, every single person that has subscribed to it, except for literally one person, really likes it, thinks it's a steal.
And YouTube TV already has Red Zone. I guess what we're wondering is if the NFL owned Red Zone, which was on DirecTV, if that just goes away now and the Andrew Siciliano channel is no more, because there was 2 separate Red Zone channels for years, and just wondering how the distribution of that will go. That's not part of this press release. That'll still be up in the air, I guess.
So the exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket is being given to YouTube TV, and something that Miller and Moulton have not heard of, maybe showing our age, YouTube primetime channels.
And that's just a subscription-based thing on YouTube TV.
Okay. So there you have it. Made official by the NFL today. Reports before today, it's not addressed in the press release. 5 years, $2.5 billion a year for 5 years. They were getting $1.5 billion at the end of the DirecTV deal. So the NFL and the players just earned an extra $1 billion. You split it 50-50. Do the math. Each NFL team just made an extra $17 million. Or thereabouts, $16 million.
Cap's going up. We've been telling you.
Yep.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Beethoven rocked today in 1808.
When didn't he?
Well, his premiere in Vienna of Symphonies 5 and 6 and Piano Concerto No. 4, which he was the soloist. Wouldn't that be like seeing Zeppelin in the early 70s?
And like a hole
small,
in the wall?
Right.
Hole in the wall on a Tuesday?
I've got to think that that's something people had never heard before. It had to just blow people's minds. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just think that would be like seeing, Zeppelin for the first time. All right, today in 1877, Edison's phonograph is announced by Scientific American. He was bored 5 years later when he had the first ever string of Christmas tree lights.
Man, couldn't that guy just like chill out? Like when he came to Southwest Florida, I mean, it doesn't sound like he, kicked his feet up there with, Ford and Firestone. I mean, relax, dude. The weather's great. Have a Mai Tai.
1894, the USGA forms.
Well, sorry about that.
1915, organized baseball and the Federal League sign a peace treaty and the Federal League dissolves. I don't know how much of a peace treaty that was, David. That seems to be there's nothing peaceful about it.
Mark, is that like the NFL and the USFL signed a peace treaty in 86?
Exactly.
Mark, do you think we'll ever get one of those between the PGA Tour and the LIV? Think there'll be a peace treaty?
No. I really don't. 1932, The Mummy is released. 1964, Lenny Bruce is convicted of obscenity. Dr. Zhivago premiered today in 1965. Espo becomes the sixth NHLer to get to 500 today in 1974. I mentioned the Lenny Bruce thing because today in 1984, Like a Virgin was number one, the start of 6 weeks on the top of the charts. Amazing how things changed in 20 years.
Yes, it really is.
Today in 1990, Paul Coffey becomes the second NHL defenseman to get to 1,000 points. Brett Hall in 96 on a hat trick gets to 500. Sad day for David today in 2003. The Knicks hire Isaiah Thomas as president of basketball operations.
Unbelievable. Wow.
And 2 years ago, Messi scores his 644th goal for FC Barcelona, breaking Pele's record for most goals for one club. Those born today.
I'm sorry if you missed the news earlier. Messi verbally agreeing to stay with PSG through another year and a half. So much for him joining the Miami MLS team.
And Pele, cancer has taken a turn for the worst that we also mentioned today in the starting five. Those born today that are no longer with us: Connie Mack, Racer David Pearson, and Ray Guy. Those celebrating birthdays today: Steve Carlton is 78, Steve Garvey is 74, Jan Stevenson is 71, and hockey player Kurt Maltby is 50. And that is today was the day when.
Don't you think Carlton and Garvey should just, face one another today for old time's sake?
I damn near yesterday when I did it was going to look up what he hit against Carlton. That's all. I sat there for a minute and a half going, should I bother? And if I go down this rabbit hole, will I actually be able to find it?
Steve Carlton for a left-hander. That slider was so good. You knew it was coming. He literally could have stood on the mound and told you, I'm going to throw you nothing but sliders. You could have gone up there with a broom and not hit it when he was on top of his game.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I don't know if this should even be a good, but it's not a bad or an ugly, and I find the story fantastic. We go to Fort Lauderdale. There's a city commission meeting. They're talking about a proposed waste disposal contract. The commissioners are going over a $1 million contract with Waste Management when a woman who was signed up to speak at the meeting was called upon. She walked to the microphone dressed completely in latex, only able to see her mouth, and she had two silent, expressionless partners flanked on each side. She went by Miss Crave, and she recommended that the commissioners use a quarter of the proposed funds to support local doms and subs. She also asked the commissioners to build a dungeon for the BDSM community to be paid for by taxpayers taxpayers and local citizens, and then welcomed all of the commissioners to the dungeon where she looked forward to spanking them.
Wow.
It's not really the good, but there was no way I was not getting that story out there.
Of course, now I'd like a follow-up as to how many took her up on the offer.
And how many needed it. For the bad, we go to the Miami airport, where Camila McNeil is now facing criminal charges, 1, for being a bad parent, and 2, for being just a nut job. She's at the ticket counter with American Airlines when her 2 kids took off to the bathroom or wherever they walked away to. So she lost the kids. She became irate, started to scream at the gate agent to find her children. When the gate agent basically said it's not her job, she picked up the computer from the gate agent and fired it at her.
Oh, snap.
So then she was arrested and never made her trip to New York.
Funny how that works.
Finally, the ugly, we go to France, where doctors were left shell-shocked after an 88-year-old Frenchman arrived at the hospital with a World War I bomb stuck in him.
What?
In his backside.
Hold on a second. I could have swore, and sometimes I don't always pay close attention. I admit that. Just like you don't me with the starting 5. I thought you said that a gentleman has a World War I bomb
stuck in him.
Yes. And there's really only one place that could be.
That's correct. His arrival sparked a bomb scare at the hospital as officials feared the antique explosive would detonate. Bomb disposal experts determined there was little risk of the shell exploding inside the man. It was understood that he did this on his own. For pleasurable purposes.
Come on now.
And that, folks, is why the latex girl was the good on today's Good, Bad, and Ugly, December the 22nd, 2022.
World War I, by the way. Not 2, 1.
Had it on the shelf for a while and figured,
Very
that
impressive.
looks a lot like.
It's very impressive. Man, obviously this person never traveled much. I mean, you would think it would have been detected I know you can get a lot through, like, especially if you travel through Newark International Airport there, Liberty International Airport is what it's called. You could get an AR-15 through, security at Newark, but World War I bomb in an orifice? I would think that would be detected. Must have just done a lot of driving, Mark. That's all I got to say.
Lots of hockey tonight. Nothing in state.
Wow, there's a transition for you right
I've
there.
got nothing else to do
That
than to
was
slide
smooth.
this into Hurricanes and Penguins. Probably the best game on the slate. Rangers and Islanders, another pretty good one. The Maple Leafs are minus 335 hosting the Flyers tonight.
2 NBA games, and none of them are any good. San Antonio at New Orleans, Washington at Utah.
But let's get to what's important today. 7:30
right.
this evening, the Armed Forces Bowl. David is 6-6 on the bowl season. Baylor, a 3.5-point favorite against Air Force. The over-under number is 43.5. They're saying 23-20 Baylor. How do you see it, Father Fathead?
Well, thank you, Mark. I have lost a lot of money this year betting against Baylor. Even though they've only gone 6-6, they have managed to cover every single time I have them losing. But I'm going to tempt fate once again. It's the Armed Forces Bowl. Air Force, a member of the Armed Forces. I'm taking the 3.5. I've even seen 4, but that's okay. Father Fathead will take the points against Baylor. Why not?
Fatheed.
Yes. Don't laugh. One of my daughter's best friends in high school. That's what he called me.
Father
Fatheed.
Fatheed.
Father Fatheed. And I, of course, looked right at him and said, if you're going to do it, get it right.
Ah. 6-6 on the bowl season.
Yep. Thursday night football, Jacksonville getting to in Jersey against the Jets. I'm taking the Jets.
Zach Wilson throws picks. I'm going to take the points and the Jags.
If this game was on Saturday or Sunday, I'd take the Jags. I hate the short week for Jacksonville at this time of the year, and the weather favors the Jets as well.
You're probably right, and I'm still taking the Jags.
Sauce Gardner interception tonight as well. He's going to want one against Trevor Lawrence.
That'll be, by the way, who does they put him on? It will be an interesting decision from Saleh and company.
It's a great question.
And I think it'll be on Zay Jones, and that's why I think Doc does too, because he thinks Kirk's going to have opportunities tonight. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. We'll finish the week tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon